am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me not know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Trick-Nick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices. Add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick-Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
All right, good morning and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am your host, Manningsman, and today we have the better co-host. You understand me? The one from Trinidad and Tobago, the one who has more common sense than is common with most people. You understand me? He has such common sense. His family decided that they would give him a surname of Fortune because he's fortunate to have been blessed with more common sense than Manningsman. He will be here with me, and we have a most esteemed guest that we will be speaking to about Caribbean football, and in particular, yes, football in Trinidad and Tobago. So as usual, we ask you to do the key things, which is one, to hit the subscribe button if you have not yet subscribed to the platform. Also, please make sure that you share the content with someone else, and also like the video. You can support the channel by giving a super sticker or a super chat. This will be a good discussion. Lots of information. At some point, we'll allow you, as the guest wishes, to call in and ask questions pertinent to the discussion that we are having. But without any further ado, I will invite my co-host, the one out there in the NC, none other than Mr. Andre Fortune. You're muted.
Morning, man. How you doing?
I am doing well.
I hope you had a good weekend.
Rough weekend, but we have life, and we are ever thankful. I always tell people that when I wake up and I see my family and I have breath in my lungs, that alone is good satisfaction.
Yeah, I hear you on that. With you on that. I had a busy weekend. Been on the road a little bit. Made one of my family members really happy this weekend, so that's always good. So we're here with you this morning. We are honored this morning to have with us a friend, a colleague, someone I grew up around playing football in Trinidad and Tobago. He has done a lot of work in football. I think some of it might have gone unnoticed by some, but his name is Shabazz. Jamal Shabazz is what is with us this morning. He is currently the head coach of the Guyana football team. I think this is his first stint as the Guyana head coach. He's also the owner of Caledonia AIA that plays in the Trinidad and Tobago Premier Football League. As the head coach of Guyana, he has achieved quite a bit. I think in 2006, during one of his stints, he had one of the longest winning records for the Ghana men's national team, and raised their ranking quite significantly, the highest ranking FIFA ranking ever. In 2011 he took them to the third round of the World Cup qualifiers, which is the best ever performance by the Ghana national team, and in the process, he had a very controversial 2-1 win over Trinidad and Tobago in Trinidad. That's record breaking, and I could guarantee you that that probably didn't sit very well with some. And it's an individual that while growing up, he is from, and I know he would wear this term with honor. He is from what we would call the ghetto, like I am as well. And but he is one that has been able to carve out a place in society very early, where he is respected by all, not just by people in the ghetto, but by mainstream as well, because he has always been a leader, in my opinion. He's always been organizing something. So after such a win in 2011, he was still able to return to Trinidad in 2012 and co-head coach the national team with Hudson Charles, both coming from completely different backgrounds. And then he returned to Ghana in 2015 on a 2-year contract. He did work with IFAB for a while, and for a couple of years he had a contract with IFAB. I don't know if that has been extended. He has coached with the Trinidad women team again in 2018. Then he went to St. Lucia briefly, and now he's back with Guyana. So without further ado, let's introduce the Honorable Jamal Shabazz. Good morning, Jamal.
Good morning, Andre, and is it Mr. Manning?
Good morning, Jamal. Good morning. Good to have you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
I see you're on the move.
You're busy as usual. Yeah, you're busy as usual. Yeah. I see you're going close up to the camera to hear what's happening, which is going to be.
Is this good?
That's
I'm
good.
not hearing you well.
Oh. Are you driving?
I'm not driving in a vehicle.
I think, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, I'm hearing better now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Andre. Welcome to I Am Sure Sports. Welcome to Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean in the virtual space. Looking forward to I heard all the accolades that Andre read out about you. You understand me? Seems that you grew up from humble beginnings. So just in case the people don't believe Andre, because someone said in the comment section, Andre is a man of great fortune. What does he know about the ghetto? So why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your background, though Andrea said that, and just how you got involved in football to the point where you are now, and then we will I'll pass the baton over to Andre to continue his questions.
Okay, I'm from Morval, Lavantil in Trinidad and Tobago. It can be considered
your volume has gone down, and we're hearing an echo. I don't know if you have to.
So here what's happening, Jamal. I think you're playing the video. You're playing the video in the background on YouTube. You might want to close that.
A video?
Or you have it on speaker.
I'm not sure. Let me just check. To close everything. Because it's on my phone.
All right, it's better.
Right,
You're good now. Except there's some feedback.
Go ahead.
All right, you're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Mova Laventil in Trinidad, which is considered maybe like Spanish Town. Um, in the Caribbean, we have these places, and I'm proud to be from there. And but I consider myself a Caribbean man. I was a big supporter of Jamaica in 1997 under Carl Brown and Rennie Simoes. Um, Good friend of Theodore Whitmore, Wendell Joseph, Dongswell, Vin Blaine, and a lot of brethren from Jamaica and throughout the Caribbean. I came from the days of Captain Burrell and Jack Warner and that tribe, and now transitioning in this modern era here where so much have changed.
So Jamal, as I mentioned in the introduction, you and it's a badge that you wear with pride. You're from Caledonia, and you're proud of that. But one of the things that intrigues me is the fact that it's not often you find people that come from that environment embraced by the wider society. There's a lot of great people that comes out of that type of environment, but you don't see people get embraced, and you have been embraced by, I would say, by the majority of the society, by mainstream. Could you tell us a little bit how, in the early days, how did you get to where you are today, from your early days? When I say get to, you were born in Caledonia. If you could give us a little bit more about your background and your journey to where you are today.
Well, as a young man, I went to the Alvin Cornell coaching school as a young player. At 16, started to tour North America from 1979. I think Andre, you of that crew. Um, we were exposed to a lot. The Alvin Cornell coaching school took me to Brazil, to the UK, and I played a national youth football for Trinidad and Tobago. I was on the squad for the senior team, but outside of a friendly game, never was able to cement a place on the senior national team, but always of the squad. Um, and started coaching relatively young because when I looked as a goalkeeper behind me, I saw people like Shaka Hislop, Ross Russell, and others coming. And when I looked in front of me, there were Earl Carter, John Granville, Michael Maurice. And when I looked at the coaching fraternity, uh, a lot of the coaches were teachers and not full time in coaching. So that drove me into the pathway of coaching. And I think it is from there I really started to you know, fit into mainstream society and contribute in a more meaningful way.
If I remember well, from very early on, you were seen as a leader. Um, you were seen as a tactician, as a coach. You do have some accolades, with Caledonia AIA. If today, you've had your journey, you're in your 50s, you've had your journey. If you were to define your style of leadership, if you were to be asked what are the characteristics and qualities that define your style of leadership, what would you say that is?
Well, I try to take pattern from the scriptures. Um, Jesus, for instance, direct communication with his Lord and Creator, right? But yet, Jesus consulted with his disciples, right? So consultation is a major part of leadership, especially today, because with the advent of social media, people want to have a say in how they are governed and how their lives go. Back in the colonial days, we had a lot of leadership in the Caribbean. I could call two from Jamaica. I could call one from Trinidad, several from Trinidad, several from Guyana, who were what we call maximum leaders. Do as I say and let no dog bark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now the people want to have a say in their affairs. And Allah says in the Quran, consult with them, have shura, mutual consultation. And this is the way to go. And we see it in the scriptures. Jesus consulted with his disciples. He did not have to, but he followed that command. And I want to move away from the accolades, right?
Yeah.
Accolades don't lead people. And we had some serious issues in the Caribbean. I want to let you and Manning's man to get to it. Let we deal with this thing in the Caribbean here. Because
Okay.
right now on fire.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. I love you. I love you when you're like this. so,
Yeah.
so let me ask you. Let's jump right into it. What is your opinion? What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the development of sports in the region?
Well, in football in particular,
Mm-hmm.
we have a yardstick to measure if a coach is a good coach. If he
Mm-hmm.
don't win, he's not a good coach. He don't get the results. So Theodore Whitmore gets fired, right? All over the Caribbean, coaches get fired, especially Caribbean bred coaches, when they don't get results. We have a yardstick to say these are good players, these are bad players. They can't score, they can't defend. But what is the yardstick to measure what is a good administrator in
Mm. We lost you there. Um, we lost our guest there. I believe because he's moving around. I believe he may have lost his connection. Let's hope that we can get him back soon. But I think he's he's into a very good conversation here in regards to what is the yardstick for measuring administrators and whether or not they're getting the job done. I think it's there. I would like to hear his thoughts some more on that, and I'd like to hear his thoughts some more on that and see if we can get to where we're trying to get to today, because I think Jamal is very knowledgeable about football in the region. He's got a good history. He's been around it for a very long time, and let's try to see if we can get him back here soon. Management, I know you've been listening in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Listen, this is the kind of discussion we need to have. You
Yeah.
understand me? That stimulates and educates. I'm looking forward. I mean, I don't know if you want to reach out to him and kind of give him some instructions about even how to set the phone. You know, we normally set
Yeah,
it to get
I said,
a better quality,
yeah,
a better quality look. But I like what Kendall Reyes is saying. Agreed. There is a dire shortage of quality leadership in the region, especially in administration. And I mean, you can tell that. You can tell that that is what is happening. And we have to look at the overall administration of Caribbean football. And like I said, that is leadership. And to me, it goes across even into politics. I think the Motley is the new prime minister, the female is her name in Barbados. She is. Oh, you're muted.
yeah. I think that's her last name. She's
Motley.
quality.
quality lead, and
She's quality.
you can tell there's a difference in
Yeah.
terms of, when you listen to her, you hear vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have some leaders. It just appears it's not in football. And I can tell you, speaking to a colleague this morning from Trinidad, and he was reminding me, he says, the minute you started to have these conversations, you would upset people. You don't have to call names, but people become uncomfortable. And this is the Jamal used the word yardstick. The leaders, he talks about consulting people. The leaders in the region, in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, I don't think that there's a sense that they are accountable to the people, right? And that makes it very, very difficult to get people to follow you, because one of the things that we want to get into today with Jamal, which I know that because he's
one of the admins are saying that maybe we could have him if he's still mobile, in terms of if he's still driving, I could actually call him and we do it by just voice, or
right.
So if he so I would have to call him though.
I tried to call him just now to see what he wants to do. I'm calling him again, and
all right, so let me mute you. Because we don't want that conversation to be heard live, but we're going to try and connect with our guests, because this is like I say, a worthwhile conversation to have, and a figure that it will add some value to just Caribbean football, which has always been one of the desires of I Am Sure Sport. Kendall Reyes says, again, the football product is suffering from lack of visionary leadership. Football cannot improve unless the leadership is of a higher standard. And again, that is absolutely true. And I keep saying this to many Jamaicans. Until the only way to fight, because there's always this discussion about corruption and the lack of integrity and lack of vision. But if the visionaries don't get involved, if the people of integrity don't get involved, if the ones who are not corrupt don't get involved, how will the system change? How will it be fixed? Is it that we expect that the corrupt are going to get non-corrupt? Those who lack integrity are going to develop integrity. The ones who have no vision will have vision. Is that what our expectation is? All right, I think he's here. There you go. That's better. Jamal, if you want to look like the most handsome person from Trinidad and Tobago, you have to do like Andre and turn your phone this way.
I am very challenged with the technology, but I was hustling home and everything went haywire. Sorry.
All right.
My apologies to the viewers.
You're hearing us?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So
wonderful.
I'm saying to you, if you want to look like the most handsome person from Trinidad, turn your phone this way. Look at that.
Yes, beautiful.
I have yes, you heard that, right?
That just improved you by 15%.
So you know,
if you was in the market, you'd have been gone this morning.
You owe me, you owe me for that, All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So Jamal, you were answering the question about what the question that I asked is, what in your opinion is the biggest challenge facing football development in the region, and in particular in our case in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, as I say, I like to talk on a Caribbean level because most of the problems are regional in nature. And I was saying that we have a yardstick to measure if a Caribbean coach is good or not good. He don't get the results, Theodore Whitmore, and all of us, we get fired. When a player misses a goal or doesn't defend well, the public can say he's not a good player, she is not a good player. But we have no yardstick or criteria to measure what is a good Caribbean administrator. What is the yardstick that we use to decide we have good administrators in the region. What is the state of our facilities? What is the state of our sponsorship? What is the state of our marketing? Okay, all those things are administrative issues, right? And those the standards that we hold up for coaches and players and athletes, we don't seem to have standards to which we can hold our administrators in the region accountable by. And that is so unfortunate because administrators wield a lot of power.
So Jamal, that's an important point you're making, and I must say to you that when I started having these conversations was exactly to that end, because I think one of the things I saw is that the Jamaican fan base, the Jamaican people, started to have these conversations, and I feel like football has benefited from it on the whole because they began to highlight the shortcomings of the administrators and demand that people have explanation for things when it go wrong and to try to make things better. It's not perfect. There's still a lot of work to do. So I joined the conversation with the intention of involving the Trinidad fan base. But as you know, we have a different mindset to say Jamaican people. So I'm happy that you're here to have this discussion about the administrative side of the game because it's an important part of it. So when we look through the region, for example, you coach for Ghana right now, and you're the men's head coach, and I am sure that. Well, I'm not sure. Let me ask you. I have you here. Does Guyana have a plan in regards to trying to qualify for the 2026 World Cup?
Well, I think every Caribbean nation who has a team with a decent standard must realistic and ambitiously think, we've got to try our best to qualify for 2026 because of the format and the fact it's being held in the region. And then because three big monsters, Canada, Mexico, and the US, will not have to play in the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So any ambitious Caribbean nation must, aspire to at least the dream, the plan, and the execution to get ourselves there. In doing so, I think throughout the region, after the campaign, it would put all of us on a higher level, even those of us who would not have made it.
So if so I guess you're saying that Guyana has a plan, right? And when I started these conversations as well, it was always about the region because obviously I'm tied to Trinidad and Tobago. And would like to see Trinidad and Tobago do well. I'm yet to see a plan. Guyana does have a plan a strategic plan that represents an effort to try to qualify for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, I would say so. I think this will be one of the problems with me, Andre, is I do not see the thing from the spectacles of Trinidad and Tobago alone, or Guyana alone, or Jamaica. I try to put myself since I was 16 years old and gain consciousness in the importance of seeing our people as a regional force who made the same trip on the same ship, although there were two ships. There was the slave ship and the Fatal Rosak, right? And because of that, you saw how West Indies as a cricketing force emerged one time to be powerful. That has since disintegrated for different reasons. But in football, right, we've got to see how from a regional level we could do things on a collective basis.
I think that may be a call. I
You think so?
don't know if he probably got a call or his battery. Hope his battery has not died. But
Give me a call. I suggested to him this morning that he should use a computer because I know the
yeah,
challenges with but most people do a lot of
yeah.
things.
But
A
you see what
lot
is coming up again is the whole the collective, and while we are competitors,
Mhm.
I still believe that there's a collective benefit that we can all have.
So we have
As
been
we compete with each other.
we have
Or
been
against
talking
each other.
about that here on this platform, and the president of Grenada, Marlon, came on here and
So the same thing.
he said the same thing. He had some ideas in regards to travel. So I understand where Jamal is coming from. We see it that way, but at the same time, we also got to take care of um of our home as well, right? Because as you say, we are competitors, but we can work together. Um, we can work together because we all, at the end of the day, I'll tell you that if Trinidad goes to the World Cup, I'd be proud. I'd be proud if Jamaica goes to the World Cup. You understand what I'm saying? So and that's from a Caribbean perspective because we'll have representation from the region or whoever from the region goes to the World Cup, and we'll support them.
Yeah, and I mean, like Marlon Glean said, the biggest cost association or MAs across the Caribbean is travel. Is
Right.
there a collective approach that can be taken to deal with this kind of a thing? And what it may involve is, listen, let's build the capacity of one Caribbean nation at a time,
Right.
right? Over the next 4 years, let's build the capacity of say Trinidad, and then of our next 5 year Jamaica. And if we had done that, would have probably built up 4 to 5, which would make a lot of things different because you can't fix all the territories at the same time.
Right.
And if each territory focuses on itself, I think that something is being lost in all of that. And that doesn't mean when we play on the field, we are not competing to qualify for World Cups. It means that administratively, in particular, we build together.
It would only improve the quality of the football. Right now, we are watching the United States work diligently with CONCACAF to bring Copa America to the region. That is to develop their football because their football would not develop at the rate that they wanted to develop. The players wouldn't develop at the rate they wanted to develop if they come into the Caribbean and only able to compete against Canada and Mexico. They want more competition. They want to play Brazil more regularly. They want to play Argentina regularly. That's how you come to understand world football to compete at the World Cup level by playing against these teams. So they're working to improve that. We've got to work to improve the football in the region from
Yeah.
an administrator's perspective is going to lend itself to what's happening on the pitch, and we'll have better teams and we'll be able to qualify at
I'm going to give you a good example. There is a FIFA window now.
mhm.
How difficult would it be that in this window that Caribbean nations have under 21 tournaments? Because even if the players are, say, in clubs in
Right.
Europe, because it's an international window, you can still get them. I,
Right.
I also believe that the Caribbean can partner with African nation and have the
Yep.
African Caribbean Cup.
Hmm.
You bring 4 teams from Africa, the Ghana, the Nigeria. If you can't get your full national team, then you play a youth tournament where you bring them in the windows.
Yep.
Or they play a series of game, and that is not. It's a okay. Let four of us come together and make this happen. So that means when the team come, they can play a game here, a game there. So all the nations benefit. How we have all the games in this window in say in one location, in Trinidad, in Jamaica, in Grenada, in Guyana. And that's it. And I think that is the kind of visionary leadership and thinking, because this idea is, oh, Jamaica needs to be number one. So let's focus on us. And Trinidad needs to be number one. Let's focus on us. And Grenada needs to be number one and focus on us. And Guyana. I don't think we are large enough as footballing territories to individually take on this battle against the powerhouses across the world.
So let me tell you something. And remember when I first started to come on, all of my conversations was geared towards the region, and there was a reason for that. And Jamal, I know you saw on the slide where he's dubbed the Caribbean man. Okay, that is tied back to a calypso, and he was quoting it just now by a calypsonian named Black Stalin, and the chorus. One of the chorus of the calypso reads that, you know, we are one race from the same place, all right, that make the same trip on the same ship. So we must push one common intention is for a better life in the region, for our women and children, and that must be the ambition of the Caribbean man. And is what he is speaking to. Is what he's speaking to. Is how he has lived. In terms of you know, there's a conversation that takes place on this platform often about whether or not someone that was born outside of Jamaica should play for Jamaica. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that person is Jamaican, right? Because the parents are Jamaican. 1 + 1 is 2, right? And that is a conversation that I, you know, it's a little bit offensive to me because I have kids that was born outside of Trinidad and Tobago, but that doesn't make them any less Trinbagonian than anybody else, right? Because they grew up in the culture, and sometimes you see behaviors that suggest that you are less than, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's a song I would share with you. That's a calypso I would share with you.
Yeah. So here's my thing. In South America, the South Americans have their the Copa America, all right, and that is just South American territories. In Africa, you have the African Cup of Nations. In Europe, you have the Euros at all levels. All right. Asia have their same competition. All right. The issue with CONCACAF, it is almost like territories coming together.
Right.
So the Caribbean cannot focus on CONCACAF tournaments alone, because the Caribbean by itself is a big enough territory,
right,
to have its own unique niche in the footballing space. And for major tournament, we participate in CONCACAF. So I don't think that we should limit our tournaments because we are in CONCACAF. I think CFU must be so organized that there's a continual playing of CFU tournaments. And for the World Cup qualifiers, the under 20s, the under 17, those qualifiers, we participate in CONCACAF. But we have to use the CFU tournaments to adequately prepare our teams, to ensure that our facilities are okay, to ensure that the administrative arm are functioning effectively. All of those things, I believe, will make all the teams better, because now Jamaica under 21 playing against Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada and Canada, and Guyana and Martinique, all of these territories. That is when the generation of players that Jamaica had that qualified for the World Cup would have played in many Caribbean tournaments. The crop of Trinidad players who qualified for the World Cup also played in Caribbean tournaments.
Yes.
Since we have removed the Caribbean tournaments, only the Jamaican female team has qualified for a World Cup. from the Caribbean, because Trinidad got the right to participate because they hosted one of the youth ones.
Right. The under 17.
The under 17, so they didn't qualify.
Right.
So the point I'm making is that the removal of Caribbean focus competition has affected, and I'm saying that maybe not at the senior level, but even at the junior level, because playing often not only helps the players, but it also helps the administrative arm.
Well, look, it goes back to administration, right? Is what Jamal said earlier, is what you're saying now. What's the yardstick for measuring good administration or good administrators? And it boils down to, are we why do we not have these things in the region? Why isn't the CFU? We are responsible for developing our own football. That's our responsibility. And if we don't take that responsibility on, nobody would do it for us. I've heard coaches in the region complaining that the US, for example, don't want to develop our football. They don't have a responsibility to develop our football. You understand what I'm saying? That's our responsibility. And if we are developing our football, then you will get interest from other environments, right? You'll get interest from other environments that would take your players to the next level. But from an administrative perspective, we have a lot of work to do in order to put in place opportunities to help players. Because look, for a young player, a 14-year-old kid leaving home to come and spend a week and play a tournament in Jamaica, that's massive for his growth as an individual. The trips that Jamal mentioned, the Alvin Conley Coaching School earlier, I was a part of that, right? And that exposed me to the world. We traveled to North America, we traveled to Brazil, we traveled to a lot of places, and you grow from that, you learn from that. And so as far as development of football, development of players is concerned, we have to question whether or not our administrators, our leaders, are doing their job efficiently enough to develop the game in the region.
And there you go. And Rob Smith is saying that they replace CFU Cup with Nations League. Nations League is intended to give small countries around the world more footballing games. Jamaica is playing more games now than ever before. All right. So my point, Rob, is that fine, you may not be able to interfere with that, but if you have your senior players playing in the national team, the window is still open for your under 20s and you're under 17. And what you have to do, it is those opportunities for travel that will develop talent for future national teams and also develop talent to qualify for U20 tournaments. Because 2009, I think 2011 is the last time a Caribbean male team qualified, right? When did Trinidad play in the World Cup? 2000.
It's a long time ago.
2002, the Senior World Cup.
The Senior 2006.
2006.
Yeah, in
all right,
Germany.
2011, Jamaica had a U team that qualified. I believe, yeah, 2011. Or it was 2001. But I think 2009, 2011 is the last. 2000, no, yeah. This is the last time that a Caribbean team qualified. Probably the exception, Haiti. Did Haiti qualify? I need to check that. The point I'm making, though, is that we're struggling to qualify both senior and junior teams. Because the USA, Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, those teams are playing way more games at a competitive level than our Caribbean teams, even at the youth level. So it may not work for senior teams, but it can work for our junior teams. So use the windows to connect the Caribbean that way.
And we have to see, in the lead up to the last under 17 World Cup qualifiers, Honduras and those guys had tournaments in that part of the region so that the team could get games in preparation. We didn't have anything. What we got was, I think, your under 17 team, Jamaica under 17 played Trinidad under 17, 2 games in Trinidad prior to going to that tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Was it under 17 or under 15? At some point, there were a couple of games there, but we're not getting the same exposure. Our players are not getting the same exposure from a youth level, and we just have to look around and see. Jamaica is lucky at the moment to have a good crop of players playing in top leagues around the world. I think the experience that Cavaliers is having at the moment in the Caribbean going to do well for some of those young players. But when you look at Trinidad, we have two players playing in the MLS, right? Two players playing in the MLS. We don't have any in the Premier League. We have a couple in Europe. We have a few in Canada. We were better than that, but at the likes of Dwight York and Stern John and all those guys, and we just need to do better. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, still waiting for Jamal to reconnect.
Yeah, I just text him and see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me try to call her.
Yeah, I see. I'm saying Dominica. Sometimes. Thank you, Boss Thomas. I think sometimes we forget that Dominica is actually part of the Caribbean because they're yeah. But they are. You understand me? There you go. And Jason raised the point. No, Europe is maximizing everything. When the senior team they created the Champions League, the under-21, the youth league. So if the senior team is traveling, if the senior team is active, then the youth team must be active in footballing games. And that is what I'm saying, because that is going to challenge your administrative capacity. You'll have young persons learning and growing, learning management and physiotherapy by working and traveling. So by the time these players and these people transition to the senior teams, they already have loads of experience. And I think we have to find a way to make it work. Again, this is collective. This is not Jamaica alone. While Jamaica wants to qualify, it's not Trinidad alone. Though Trinidad wants to qualify, because I said this before, I'll say it again. If all of us are better collectively, then all of us will be also better individually. And I think there are many costs that we bear individually that we could share collectively. And some of these things were working. If you remember during the pandemic, you saw many referees from Trinidad officiating in Jamaica. Now the pandemic is gone. That is gone. That is gone. And I am saying that these should be continuing thing. We see what is happening in England. Many people are saying that why an Italian referee can't come and officiate some of the games in England, or referees from France, and English referees go over into France. We can do that in the Caribbean, where Jamaicans go and officiate or stay a month at the cost of their the Referees Association. You're muted, Andre.
Yeah, he'll be back on shortly. I just had to send him the link to a different phone.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that probably his battery died.
Yeah, he's having some trouble with his battery on his phone. So he should be back.
Yeah. So I was saying that during the pandemic, right? We saw at least 4 officials from Trinidad officiating in the Jamaican League. Since the pandemic, basically that has stopped.
Well, the pandemic, I guess it created some opportunities and it took some opportunities away, right? And it seemed as though we responded to the moment, right? But again, it all boils down to whether or not we have a plan that we are following to try to get from point A to point B. And I think of all the people that I've spoken to in the region, it seems as though there are not much people working off of a plan, because as Jamal questioned just now, what is the state of our marketing? What is the state of our finances? What is the state of our facilities? You mentioned just now in response to Rob, Rob mentioned Nations League, and you said that Ricardo, Ricardo Baggio is trying to create problems here this morning. You said, well, they can use the window and play younger teams. And I can hear some administrators saying, well, we can't afford that. You understand what I'm saying? Well, what's the state of our marketing? What's the state of our finances?
Do what the Grenadian, do what Marlon Glean said. And maybe we need to have this discussion with Marlon Glean and like Jamal and some others.
On the same panel, right?
Yeah, because let's charter a plane for the entire window, which could even bring the junior teams.
Look, hear what it boils. At the end of the day, I think there's too much people who are willing to say we don't have.
Or we can't afford. Find a way to make it happen.
Right. How can I make it happen? When
Exactly.
you start asking yourself that question, it changes the conversation completely. How can I make it happen versus saying we don't have this and we don't have that, you know? And I hear a lot of that. We don't have this, we can't do this. How can I make it happen? How can we get the resources in the region to help? And that, when I heard Marlon made that suggestion, that's a very good suggestion. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is that if you really want to do it, you can find a way.
Where there's the old saying, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. But
yeah,
I'll use the word ambition earlier. Ambition.
Why
administrators with ambition? It's important.
Why if I got a proposal from 10 Caribbean territories, right, about a youth tournament, why wouldn't a sponsor want to put money into that? Seeing that football is such a global business. And you have TV, it's going to be on your Sports Max, your Scene TV. You know what? We're going to get it on all of those channels. Why wouldn't a company in the Caribbean want to attach their brand to that idea at the under 20 and under 17 level? Just think about that. So I believe it can happen, but because each place want to do it for themselves, they can't see the vision that if we sat down and 10 of us put a proposal together and say, we the CFU wants you to be our brand sponsor, Jomo, Adidas, whatever you are, for this youth tournament. Mm-hmm. Not only that, we are going to get involved in it. Couple of the countries from out of Africa, we're going to bring them over because there is a heritage in the Caribbean. I can't see why a company looking to put its brand further and give it a bigger reach would have no interest in such a venture.
You hear all the time in what replaces vision and ideas when you speak to people in position of authority sometimes in the region. You hear, well, the business people don't want to support football. They don't trust the administrators. Well, give them something to support. Give them something to trust. Let's come up with something. And I hate to put Marlon in the spotlight again, but I'm sure you could remember that he mentioned that there was a conversation taking place to have an under 20, I think it was under 20.
Yeah.
Some under 20 teams play some games in the upcoming window. And I don't know if anything come of it. He said he was waiting on responses from some of the MAs in terms of whether they were going to participate in it.
Yeah.
We have to be a little bit more responsive. We have to be better. And I think what can be missing, somebody said to me this morning, you love football, so therefore you, and this is one of the things with Jamal, he's known for putting everybody ahead of himself, right? And when you do that, it's easy to do when you want things to be better. I'm not so sure that those are the type of leaders we have at the moment, right? The person was saying to me this morning that the leaders want to take care of themselves first, right? And if that's the case, if that's true, then that's tragic, because we would never go beyond where we are today. You have to be willing to sacrifice to get to where
Yeah,
some of the other nations are.
you have to give up to go up.
Yes.
You have to give up. Listen, people should learn from basketball, right? Here's one of the things with the NBA. The NBA will make you a star before you come into the NBA. They will find a person in college and create all of this marketing thing around them. By the time you get into the NBA, your value rises astronomically before you shoot a shot, right? Of course, it can fall by your performance. That is what we need to do as a Caribbean people. Trinidad has some young talent. Jamaica has some young talent. Grenada has some young talent. These talents should be out there being showcased across the Caribbean. That when we are on our platform, we can talk about the under 20 guy with the 18-year-old in Guyana, the 18-year-old in Grenada. All Caribbean platforms should know who is the top 18 or 19-year-old. One thing I'll give the handlers of Whisper, right? The handlers of Whisper. When you go across the Caribbean, every youngster knows Whisper's name. And he has not yet kicked a ball for Chelsea.
And that's important, because if we call Argentina now or Brazil, they can tell you who's the best 15-year-old in the country.
Yeah.
And if you speak to 3 or 4 people, they will call the same name potentially. There'll be no discrepancy with that. It's difficult to know that in the region, in most of the countries in the region. It's very, very difficult. I think we need to change the way we think about things. The way we think about things in terms of who we are and our potential. I think our potential is greater than we see it.
Yeah, Jason Guna is saying that the NBA don't do that. It is a construct of people with money and the broadcasters having ties to college sports and college in general. And so because of that, they do that. All right, fine. And I'll do that. Valid point. It's not the NBA, but before they get to the NBA, they are known. So in the same way, we can, as a Caribbean, in these under 20 leagues, here is, at the end of it, here is the top 10, the best 11. You select those things. People begin to talk about them. They talk about if it is Dujon Whisper Richards, a kid from, like I said, Guyana, somebody from St. Lucia. Because if all the Caribbean is promoting the individuals, then that individual has a broader platform to be seen and to be known. So Jamaica is doing it for its youngsters. Maybe Trinidad is doing it for its youngsters. Maybe the small territories, some of them are and some aren't.
Right.
I'm saying that it should be a Caribbean thing. Because if we can identify these young talents, give them the platform where they can be seen and heard about, and just in the same way we talk about the 17-year-old who makes it through the Manchester thing to come up, Saka, when he came through the Arsenal ranks, in the same way everyone talks about them. It is in the same way I think we need to speak about Caribbean talent.
We quicker hear who's not good enough, right? We seem to think about tearing down as opposed to building up, and it takes special individuals who want to give unconditionally to young people. I don't think everybody can do that. So we need to make sure that we have the right people in place that spend every waking minute thinking about how to improve young people's lives. Whatever their interests, if you're in football and you're administrator in football, your sole mission must be to provide the best environment possible so that young people could succeed.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, then I don't think you're in the right space.
Yeah. And I think one of the key things Jamal said, in the early portions of his discussion, as we await his return, people are still trying to see if we can connect him, so he can get back on, is if the coach selects a player and the player doesn't perform, the fans will say, well, this player is not at the level to perform at the national team. The player is dropped. If the coach don't win a certain amount of games, or you understand me, will say, well, the coach is failing and the coach is removed. And the thing he said is that then he went on and he said this: what is the yardstick for administrators? How do you measure? What do you use to measure administrators across the Caribbean as to whether they are succeeding or they are failing in their administrative function right across the Caribbean?
And look, it's there are yardsticks that is used all around the world. And I don't expect it to be any different for us.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Because like it's the same, like it's kind of funny. Like even just on this platform alone, the measuring stick is that, listen, you are not expected to get anything wrong because we believe you. We take
Right.
what you say as credible. And if you get it wrong, you come under heavy scrutiny.
Right.
That you lack integrity, you lack character, you lie, you are being dishonest. I think it is the same measuring stick that we need to use for administrators. And in the same way, you would say, okay, this person is removed. It is the same measuring stick we need to use when it comes to the administration of the sport.
We you know, Oran chose out, and this is what we do sometimes. We raise the question, who's the top talent, and we throw out a name because of somebody that we know and we like, and again, there must be some type of yardstick for that. I don't know that. I don't know that just throwing out names. If you is a 17-year-old right now, man, in Jamaica playing school football, in your opinion, is he at the same level as a 17-year-old at Real Madrid?
I don't I don't think there's a 17-year-old in Jamaica, because I don't know the 17-year-old at Real Madrid. But I know a 16-year-old he is, that I think is a good talent, that I think he should be in Europe. It's a player called Adrian Reed Jr. He played in the under 17 for Jamaica. He scored a brilliant goal. I think he even captained the team. Very, very good player. But whether or not he's a Real Madrid player, I don't know. I think the talent, because Real Madrid, I think if he was that good, maybe Real Madrid would have seen him at the under 17. So the fact that he's not there, I'd have to say no. But I still believe he has the potential to be. The issue he has is what I am saying. Here is what I am saying. The fact that he's not known across the Caribbean, he has not played. By this time, he should have played against almost at minimum 10 of the Caribbean teams.
Yes.
But if he's that good, he should have at least played against 10 Caribbean teams. at this age group. That's what I'm saying. The players need more games in their age group, not in schoolboy football, though that plays a part in their fitness. But he should have by this time played at least 10 of the Caribbean territories already at this age level. Somebody said unity is needed in the region DV group between federation before anything positive will happen. I believe football needs to be structured like West Indies cricket. The region is too small to have so many federations. Then he says a West Indies football team would generate more income than any single federation can make. Just my opinion. I don't know if a West Indies football team would work given the state of West Indies cricket team. And that in and of itself has its own politics in it. What I would say though is this, that every year we should have a Caribbean team of the best Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean territories that go up against some of the teams from Africa. If I had the power, one of the things I'd do is that I'd bring a Caribbean team, the best players from the territory, come together and they go and they play against Ghana and Nigeria. They go on a tour and kind of begin to work on that connection between the African nations and the Caribbean. I cannot understand how every window there is not a Caribbean, right? A Caribbean, African territory coming to the Caribbean to play some team.
Go ahead if you could. I'm trying to reach Jamal here. Hold on a minute.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Pagan says, we don't have a measuring stick standard for YouTubers. The bad YouTube fall by the waist side. All right. Oh, he's saying that Sweeney plays for San Juan Jabale in the TNT Professional League. This one says, what about the number 10 from Mona? I hear people saying that is the number 10 from Mona the best player in schoolboy football? I haven't seen him play like in a U17. I hear that, I think Mackenzie, I hear that he's a very talented player. Would love I would love to see him. I've seen Adrian Reed Jr. and like at 16, and that's why I said 16-year-old. I think he's one of the best 16-year-olds in Jamaica, and he's right up there against any 16-year-old in the Caribbean. I think we have Jamal, who is well.
Yeah, Jamal is back.
All right. So, no. Sorry about that, folks.
I tried to save you from all of that this morning. And you read my text message. You read my text messages.
Just flip it, man. If you flip it after a while, it will change. You just turn it like this. Just turn it, and then there's a little button that says I think it says rotate.
Let me check.
He did it earlier.
Yeah.
But it's not my phone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so what you do is if you drag down to where you see your Wi-Fi connection, there's a little circular thing that shows you like it's a little screen in it. If you press on that, it's supposed to change color, and then when you flip the phone, it automatically turns. Auto rotate. You look for auto rotate.
But it depends on the foot. You're assuming you're using the same phone.
The iPhone.
Okay.
Isn't that what is on the iPhone? Auto rotate? I think that is what it is on the iPhone.
All right. No.
All right, let's go ahead.
Let's go.
Because
All that does is it enhances your appearance. We lost him
oh,
again.
you see, that's why I didn't want him to touch
Yeah.
anything. See, he's gone now.
Yeah, he's back again. All right, leave it as is. We prefer your knowledge today than your appearance. So let's leave it
Right.
as
Yes. All right. So Andre, you can continue. Go on.
where we look. We've been on now for an hour and 11 minutes, Jamal, and we've covered some things. We talk a little bit about leadership in the region, and how we could move forward. While you were gone, we discussed a little bit about why it is we don't have a better structure in terms of developing young players in the region, having tournaments under 17, under 20, whatever the case may be, in the windows, and talked about some of the responses we've gotten in the past in terms of finances. You raised the question, what's the state of our finances and our marketing? And we pointed out that we interviewed Marlon Glean, from the president of the Grenada FA, and one of the things that he talked about, we had a discussion about transportation in the region, and he had some ideas in terms of how we can deal with that as a region, right? Not just as individuals. So if we get together as a region, there's a tournament, we can charter a plane and we can go, multiple teams could travel to get to the location, and that is less cost effective. So to your point, and I have always taken that stance that we need to develop the region, in order for the football to develop. What are your thoughts in terms of, we know that transportation is difficult in the region. You have any thoughts on transportation, and how we can make it better so that we can get youth teams, for example, to different places more often? Um,
Well, David John Williams, deceased, who
mhm.
was once president of TTFA, he had mentioned to presidents and secretaries in CFU the idea of, I think, wet lease is the term he used, 2 aircrafts. He was laughed at because people said that we're not in the airline business. But I think we've got to get creative to solve our transport problems. I think CFU in particular needs a mention in the CARICOM heads of government meeting as cricket is mentioned. And nobody in football seems to care that cricket is on the CARICOM agenda and football is not on the CARICOM agenda, when football and basketball are really the sports of the grassroots in the
Right.
region, right?
So, uh-huh.
So, added to that, I think that in terms of scheduling, in terms of the development of football in the Caribbean, we have so many Caribbean coaches who doesn't have a seat at the executive committee level of CFU. Let's forget CONCACAF for now, because CONCACAF as a unit is much more organized than CFU, right? And so is Central America and North America. The part of CONCACAF that is not as organized as it should be is the Caribbean leg, right? And if we come to talk football as an executive committee, where are the technicians? There has not been one forum organized by the executive of CFU to hear the opinions of the minds of the Caribbean coach. We don't have anything to say. We don't have any ideas. We've been through it. And if you search every Caribbean country or island, you will find some of the best minds, right? And people who has been in football full time. So people who have been in football part time are making technical decisions that governs all of football in the region, right? Secondly, I think we need to be more aggressive. We need to put football on the lips of the Honorable Mia Motley. We need to put football on the lips of the Honorable Dr. Rowley, right? Cricket is on their lips, right? And when you look at their constituents is football.
Yep.
But where are our leaders to put that on the drawing board?
So Jamal, let me ask you a question, and rightfully so. I watch cricket sometimes. There was a tournament in Trinidad that came out many months ago, but I saw our prime minister sitting there with his wife, legs crossed. He's watching cricket, right? I've not seen that around football. There was just a game recently at the National Stadium, an international game, and so I think the evidence bears out your point. But let me ask you this: the CFU exists. There are people holding positions. And sometimes when you ask what is the CFU doing, is it fit for purpose at the moment? And it's hard to get an answer. What type, taking into consideration everything that you just said, what type of leadership do you think can transform the CFU into a fully functional organization and doing some of the things that you just talked about to the benefit of the region?
Well, first, I'm not advocating uh, uh, expulsion of the CFU executive, because coaches are coaches, administrators are administrators. But I'm saying that they need to get some coaches at the seat of the table, or at least their views. In Trinidad and Tobago, like him or not, we have Keith Lecloy. Like him or not, Dr. Alvin Henderson, Anton Cornell. Where's Carl Brown? Wendell Downswell, Vin Blaine. These guys have been in the program in the region since Adam was a boy. And where is the avenue for their opinion to be heard? Because they would have been, for the last 40 years, being very, very accurate with what are some of the challenges that we face in the region, in transport, in facilities, in funding, So I think that CFU needs to widen the opinion, the seeking of opinion base, and I think they need to be more aggressive when it comes to CARICOM, heads of government.
Well, let me ask you this, just quickly, because you mentioned Downswell, Carl Brown, Vin Blaine, St. Clair. Was that coach from Trinidad? He's still around?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
right. All right. Couldn't those coaches independently come together and form a Caribbean coaches council, like you said, and then they then as a group approach the CFU? Is it possible that it could be done that way? Like I said, some of those senior coaches that have been a part of the mix for so many years understand the Shell Cup, the Caribbean Cup we used to have way back in the days, and saw some of the logistical issues. Maybe some of the 10 more dominant territories find the coaches, probably one having a table at the seat from each of the territory, or probably some get two, like Trinidad and Jamaica. create this whole council, and then from there make an approach to CFU. Is that one way it could be work? Anton Carneal, whomever they are. Could it work that way? Or it must be the CFU that starts it and then get them engaged, or they could build it and engage the CFU?
I think nice idea on paper, but a lot of the people tired and a little elderly. And now the battle in the hands of my generation, right? And I fear that the coaches to come when we die and become dust will pass and spit on our graves and say, Shabazz and them and do nothing for we. So while we still have some semblance of life, I think my generation need to champion this. But the administrators not blind. Not all of them wear glasses,
So
right? And you don't need no blasted glasses to see the trial and crosses. They sing that in Jamaica. Me no need no glasses to see the trial and crosses, right? So don't tell me that these men don't know that we do not have a seat at the table of CARICOM, heads of government.
okay,
You know what it will take.
so let me make this point to you, Jamal. Let me ask you this. You know, I have raised this question with you a very long time when there was the transition in administration in football. Um, I was early to say that the football now falls in our hand, in our generation hand. And I was specific in terms of yourself and others who should take the reign of the football and run with it. Right? I was specific with that a long time ago. If the people in charge, you're saying they're not blind, they can see. But you know, earlier you mentioned that not advocating the expulsion of anyone, and I understand that. I understand that. But if the leadership is not getting the job done, what is the alternative?
Well, you see, this is the thing about coaching, right? We to to find relevance, you have to get results, right? If you're not a coach that getting results in the region, when you open your mouth to talk on non-football of the field issues, the detractors come out at you and say, "Boy, he just lost that tournament." So we are in an unfair position, right? But let's talk about the generation behind me. Those who want the present crop of administrators to just abdicate the throne. Nobody give up power like that, right? Nobody do, just very few people. Maybe in the British system, we still have a few people who will resign out of principle and think in the old colonial way. But that is one thing, that diplomacy we did not take from the colonial master. So there needs to be some ambition on all those people who doing the FIFA CIS courses and all these administrator courses, right? They need to not just do the template. They need to find out who was Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
They need to find out who was Michael Manley, who was Eric Williams, what they do, the struggles. You see, they just want to get a partisan knowledge, but leadership have got to have some historical context for our people, because we did not come to the Caribbean as the masters. We came as the slaves and the indentured laborers. So when we get a degree at UE, or any university. We have got to redirect our thoughts and redirect the thinking from that of being the son and daughter of an ex-slave to someone who could take the region now as a free thinking individual. And that is a big problem with the generation below me. All over the world, the students make the change. Where are the students in the Caribbean? They're not in the streets. They're not protesting in the campus. They're nowhere. They're asleep. So it is impossible for football, right, to deal with a people that is asleep. We have to wake them up. Programs like these will help. But maybe when the results continue to come bad and bad and bad, then there will come some kind of conscience from among these new generation to say, look, let me put myself on the firing line. But there's only so much those who went before us and those who are here could do. But we need to do what we could do. And I accept that responsibility. And I will continue to do what I could do by highlighting, some of the issues like we're doing now.
So when you is there a chance that
Hold on, Andre. Let me just bring up this. Zenat says, sorry, Andre. Unfortunately, Randy Harris, CFU president, will not entertain any of these initiatives. He must be replaced in order for the CFU to become relevant again. All right. And this is the dilemma of the discussion. I always say to people, it's fine to replace people, and maybe it is right, but replace who with who? Where is the visionary that even if you replace who is there, they are going to step in and make a difference? Which is what I question now, is that, okay, normalization committee in Trinidad is coming to an end. Will we be seeing new faces who have new vision to transform Trinidad? Or is it the same people who were there before the normalization committee who will be put back in position to do what?
And that's a good question. And we can segue into that, Jamal, if you're comfortable with that. But before we go there, I want to say that, when you talk about the new generation and education and degree from UWI, my contention with that is, I think our educational system was never designed by us, and was never designed. It was, in my opinion, it was designed to teach us how to serve others. So we are not getting the education to do the things that you are suggesting should be done, right? You talked about Marcus Garvey, and I think that that's a good platform for our education system to be based on, the thoughts of the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. But right now, and I've done some research on that, it's difficult to find out, to accept anything other than our educational system is providing an education, if you want to call it that, that prepares us to serve other people and not our own people. So you can go into various agencies and government buildings and have an experience that is 3 or 4 times worse than you would get in other parts of the world, despite the fact that we are not labeled. Speaking about Trinidad and Tobago in particular, we are not labeled a developing country. Our economy puts us above developing country status, but we seem to provide experiences that is consistent with developing countries, right? So, I've spoken to people who have lived in India and Australia and Gabon and many countries that have different status as far as this concerned. And the consensus was that you go to those developing countries and you get experiences that is 3 and 4 times worse than you would experience in a developed country. So, for example, let's say you go to get your license renewed, right? Something that could probably take you 30 minutes in a developed country, right? Or less might take you 4 or 5 hours in a developing country. But let's move to a little bit about what Management just mentioned in terms of election coming up. I know Jamaica has one. Is it on the 24th, Management? Jamaica has the election coming up?
Election.
Yeah.
So the election will be January 14th. But they still have this little complication because you know that FIFA's mandate with their constitution is that they must increase the stakeholders in terms of who get votes.
Right.
Previously, it was just the 13 parish president. They wanted to bring it to over 100, but they have settled on 56. So they have 3 pillars: pillar 1, pillar 2, and pillar 3. And they are trying to now get organization established in pillar 3 so that they can have rights to vote. But other than having the rights to vote, you must get nomination from the 3rd pillar. And that has been stirring up some controversy all across Jamaica. But this is one of the things that FIFA insisted that happen. Instead of 13 parish presidents selecting the president of the football, expand it to more people, and in the next cycle increase it to more, because so that is what is happening. So the election will be in January of 2024, but the nomination for the candidates, I believe, ends on the 14th of November. So you must be nominated by one person from each of the 3 pillars by November. The election is in January. But if you don't, even if you are not affiliated to nominate by November, you can still get affiliation up until December 20th and still have your votes. So that's what is happening in Jamaica right now.
Okay, so I'm hoping that Jamal could provide some update on what's happening in Trinidad. We know that Trinidad was put under a normalization committee in 2020. The period of time was supposed to be for 24 months. The reason for that was given for bringing a normalization committee was that FIFA saw very extremely low financial management methods according to FIFA in Trinidad. Trinidad had massive debt at the time, and which placed the federation at risk of insolvency. And as far as FIFA concerned, that placed the institution, the organization, TTFA, and the development of football at risk. So, and Jamal, you can get into this a little bit and try to clarify and update. The mandate that was given to the TTF, to the normalization at the time, was to run the daily affairs of the football, to establish a debt repayment plan for the debt that they had, and to review and amend the constitution. I think right now we're at the place where the constitution is being reviewed. What has never been clear to me, and it needs to be reviewed and amended consistent with FIFA statutes. But I don't think it has really been clear to some people as to what is being reviewed, what does not meet, what is not consistent with FIFA's statutes.
Well, I know very little about the Constitution, but I do know that FIFA is not satisfied that some aspects of it falls in line with what they would like based on their statutes. What we have in Trinidad, though, and Tobago, is that people continue to fight the normalization fiercely and not understanding that the Normalization Committee is running according to what FIFA wants it to do. And the sooner you allow the Normalization Committee to complete the mandate, then the new administration could set about to, make whatever changes that they think necessary. But we spend too much time fighting and blaming the Normalization Committee and saying that they don't know anything about football and this and that. But who brought us to this point? This carnage in Trinidad and Tobago's football. Not the stakeholders by their actions or inactions. That was not the doing of the Normalization Committee. They were not involved in football. In fact, the choosing of the Normalization Committee was based on people who were not tarnished by being involved in football before. And we, as stakeholders, are not taking responsibility for having brought us to the point where we needed a Normalization Committee. And that is unfortunate. We are busy pointing all the blame, and this is not a paid political announcement for the Normalization Committee. This is a real reflection for me that we in football in Trinidad and Tobago contributed to the depth, to the morass, and to the decadence. And now we want to lay blame squarely on the shoulders of the Normalization Committee. People could do that, but I do not share that opinion. I think, as people tell me in football in Trinidad and Tobago, that I get tired. I am a revolutionary. I don't want to get to fight no more. My teeth falling out, my hair growing bald. Okay, I accept all that. But with the little energy I have laryngitis in my throat. Let me use my voice to fight serious battles. The Normalization Committee is not the enemy. And to call FIFA the colonial master is a convenient thing, because when some of those people were in power, FIFA was more than that. So Mendes moved the goalposts to suit them, right? And I say, let the Normalization Committee complete the process for the Constitution. Let them bring it to the Congress eventually with the changes, and let them go, and then the people compete to see what next. I don't think fighting the Normalization Committee will make their job easier, nor make their time shorter. In fact, I think the more we obstruct them and put obstacles in the way, the longer FIFA will extend their time.
So that means Jamal and Andre, this is because El Granira says that's true, Jamal, because if the needs of the statutes are not met, FIFA will not leave and will extend the period of the Normalization Committee. So is this a possibility that, given the objection to some of the things from the Normalization Committee, it does brings the possibility of an extension of it to complete the process of transforming or changing the Constitution?
I think so, and I think that is a definite possibility. And if you allow the constitutional dragons who exist in Trinidad and Tobago, who know more constitution than the law lords, than the master, if you allow them the way, we spend another year in normalization. The exact problem that brought us to here, that those who know feel they know so much that in meetings they don't give ground to other people. Jack Warner used to say something, right? And Captain Burrell said it, that a football game is 90 minutes. If a football meeting lasts longer than 90 minutes, it's not football you're discussing. Oh, shucks, man. Let me be real. 8 hours in a football meeting arguing about the Constitution. It are no sports name, Constitution. The foot, you see, listen, administrators missed the thing, you know. Let me tell you how they missed it.
Hey, Jamal, I know you're passionate, you know, but you see when you come close up to the screen, you know,
Sorry,
the people,
sorry,
the people, yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry. Listen,
Hold it. Just hold the passion a little bit. Go ahead.
No, we want the passion, but don't come close the screen.
football could exist without a football office, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
How does a football office come into play? Because of the football of the field, football needs a field, equipment, players, right? Once you have that, the only time the relevance of a football office comes into play is when you have football. And these administrators have it back to front, right? It's based on having football. You have an organization to regulate football. But all you need is a ball.
So this is so interesting. Then how could Grenada, a way smaller island than say Trinidad and Jamaica, when their president Marlon Glean spoke on the show, everyone was open to the idea. How he invited all the stakeholders to be a part of the process. How can a Grenada, as such 110,000 people, have like the right systems in place, never qualified for youth World Cups, male or female or senior World Cups, right? Trinidad and Jamaica, who have had people at the table at the CFU level and FIFA level, can't get it right administratively. Although Marlon Glean did work with FIFA, of course, but it's such a smaller place. What are the dynamics that would cause them to have it in Grenada, even if they're not qualifying, but administratively, it is working better than in territories like Jamaica and Trinidad, who have had multiple qualification to global tournaments, even hosted.
I think that is important for the leadership style, the question of consultation, and those who know. Sometimes knowledge is not the best criteria for leadership, you know, because Jesus, peace be upon him, and Moses didn't have any degrees, right? So leadership is a deeper thing than knowledge. It has to do with justice. It has to do with the ability to harness people and get them pulling in one direction. That is a quality that is important in modern leadership. And sometimes egos and knowledge gets in the way of that because those who know more than others feel that it's based on their knowledge, they should be in charge. And what you get is a preoccupation of who should be in charge rather than where we're going. And sometimes that clouds the issue.
Yep. Let me ask you this. You mentioned knowledge. Let's define knowledge. What is knowledge and what does knowledge do? In my opinion, knowledge, if Jamal is knowledgeable about a topic, all that says to me is that Jamal have a better understanding of the subject matter. If he has more knowledge than me, he has a better understanding of his subject matter better than I do. Education is something different. Education is the ability to take that knowledge and make life better for your people, right? For the people around you. Okay, so you're arguing that we have knowledgeable people who is unable to take that knowledge and help improve the football for our young people in administrative positions, right? When we
Right.
start, when we start thinking about solutions, right now, and I'm look, these conversations, I never want to personalize it, right? But I think if we talk around it, if we talk in parables, if we talk, apparently there's a problem right now in trying to, because a memorandum was put out some time back that says at this moment in November, right, that there would be consultation discussions that's going to be led by FIFA and CONCACAF, right, along with the TTFA members to get the constitution to where it needs to be so there can be a vote, it can be approved in December. And apparently there are challenges state now. Exactly, can you speak as a stakeholder exactly what are the challenges and who in administrative positions is making it difficult for this to progress?
Okay. So that has been sent out. I read it. And what the normalization committee did is instead of having all the dragons in one room and people fighting to make the points, what they've done is meet, they wrote to the league, for instance, and asked the league clubs to meet with them. And then the referees, right? And the different stakeholders, right? People now view that as trying to divide and conquer, right? And they are saying that FIFA and the Normalization Committee and CONCACAF should have everybody in one room, right? Again, there is a difference of opinion, but whose responsibility it is to organize this meeting? Is it the stakeholders or is it the Normalization Committee and CONCACAF and FIFA? And if they come up with a concept that they feel will bring the best results, the best input, because people now will be in smaller groups. It's like small sided games,
Right,
more touches of the ball.
right.
I see nothing wrong with that. But the conspiracy theorists again wants 112 delegates or 50 something delegates to be in one room where this discussion is held. I see that as counterproductive. I prefer to give the benefit of the doubt to the Normalization Committee, to CONCACAF, and to FIFA. And this is not a paid political announcement. That holding smaller meetings with different interest groups will bring more faster consultation.
What is their objection to the method that's being suggested or being offered, um, to be used by FIFA to be used in this process? What is their objection?
Well, you see, I think you got to ask one of them because I don't want to be unfair to
But
them.
what do you think it is? What do you think it is?
I hear them say, some of them say it unconstitutional, some of them say it immoral,
Wow.
and some of them say it is a divide and conquer tactic.
All right. So
That,
how is it unconstitutional? Because a lot of times we talk about things and we make accusations and we say things and we don't get to the specifics of it. Not us here, but people in general. So if somebody is making a claim that is unconstitutional, how is it unconstitutional?
and again, this is not. This is from my opinion. This is for they to comment because
Yeah.
I want to be fair to them.
Do you believe that they would come on though? Because I would love to engage them
Yeah.
to have this discussion. The problem is sometimes it's very difficult because nobody wants to speak. I think one of the difference with Jamaica, and I think this is something that Trinidad and Tobago should seek to do. We have been able to garner and understand all the happenings because more people in these positions, for whatever motives they want, have come out and they have spoken and they have made themselves available to to be interviewed or have the discussion, whether it be on mainstream media or even on these platforms. And if what you're doing, if someone is doing something unconstitutional, it is incumbent on you to come out and speak about it. And if it is constitutional, those who believe so should come out and also defend it. Why wouldn't they want to have public discussions on the matter?
Well, and as I say, I don't carry any brief. I know a lot of them. I have respect for a lot of them, their knowledge and their contribution to football in Trinidad and Tobago over the years. But at this juncture, I don't agree with their strategy. They certainly don't agree with mine. They think I am very passive and I am allowing the normalization committee to get away with every and anything. And I think that we should just allow these people to get on with the business and then we take it from there.
But do they understand that? I don't know if all of the MAs are just representatives of FIFA in the country that the MA exists, right? FIFA is head of household. FIFA pays most, especially in the region. Most MAs receive, all of the MAs receive 10, $11 million from FIFA every cycle. Okay. In our country, we don't raise much revenue at all. I am struggling to see where some of this resistance is coming from, because at the end of the day, when we get to where, if the constitution is approved and there's an election and there's people in office, they still have to turn to the same, they still need and welcome that revenue, right? Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So what is the conspiracy theorists, as you call them? Where is this resistance coming from? Is it an emotional thing? Is it something that we feel that, as you use the term colonial powers? Is it because we see FIFA in that light that we say we need to resist? Is this thing being thought through? What are your thoughts on that?
I think some people trying to win the election before the election season is declared open. And they are in constant mode seeking to 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 position themselves to gain that power, but it has not reached there yet, right? And I think there's a lot of insecurity by these aspirants to that throne, and this is causing, in my view, this is my view, right? Some of the problems, right? And longer they engage in that, the longer this thing will stretch out.
All right,
My
yeah, that's it, and I think that is it. Because my thing, let me just ask this: the objectors to what the Constitution or the normalization committee is trying to establish with the constitution, with the meeting with the groups, one of the major things separately, are those persons who are previously involved, or are these a new group of people who are now, because I suspect that there are different sides. Maybe there's a side that of new people coming in who are saying, okay, let them meet with the individual groups. And the other side is saying, no, let all the stakeholders be in one meeting. Is there any particular side that is leaning towards the problem with the normalization committee that you're having? Either farmer people, or is it the latter people?
The more knowledgeable people want an audience. They want a room full of plebeians to show to us this is what we know, and to school us whether their intention is good or bad. That is between them and the Lord, right? But you get this. I get the sense that, for instance, referees do not want to be in a room with just referees. Referees wants to show the other stakeholders this is what we know and this is what we feel. I
Okay.
feeling a long time. I sit down to bat. So I stop feeling. I sit down to bat, waiting for my turn to put on my pads, and then I go and bat.
All right, let me ask you this, because in Jamaica we are not under the normalization, right? We are under what they call restrictive funding. And this has been like for 5 years, 5 to 6 years. All right, we have been under restrictive funding. Now, some of the measures have been, as incremental changes have been made, some things have been lifted. But personally, I believe that if a FIFA sends people for restrictive funding to get a particular system in place, so the organization can be more effective, then they should not leave until the process is completed. Right? So though it is 6 years, if everything is not done, I still believe that they should be given time to stay for the completion of the necessary systems implemented and operating before they go in. And I think if anyone objects to that, then that is a problem. Because if you leave it undone, there is no proof that those who come in are going to complete the process in keeping with the governing body FIFA standing. And at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, if you believe that they are the colonial masters, they are over it. So at the end of the day, they determine what meets their standards.
Well, I agree with you. I am saying too that if we cooperate, right, and allow the process to take place, and then in by making that allowance, there's incompetence, right?
Yes,
The,
yes, yes.
the committee shows incompetence. But if
Yes.
you put obstacles in the way, right, constantly, and then accuse them of reaching to work late, but you block the road with tires, right? You block the road with concrete blocks, and then accuse them of not being able to drive properly on the road. I think that was being unfair. So, for me, we could question FIFA if we cooperate and then we see gross incompetence, then we can say, listen, we would like to meet with Buana or Master, right? Or the bosses of football, and voice our views because we think that X, Y, or Z. But I think FIFA could come back and say right now that many obstacles were put in the way of the normalization.
Okay. All right, Andre, Jamal, we have a caller. I think this is one of our callers from Antigua, I believe. Welcome to the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I've been listening for the last hour. Good afternoon to everybody on the panel. I've been listening for about an hour now, and I just want to say, if you're gonna create a constitution or ratify a constitution, the most appropriate thing to do is to have a Congress at the Congress. You're pulling all the stakeholders together and have a discussion. Yes, it may get loud. People may want to start to campaign, but the most appropriate thing to do is to have pull everybody into one room and all the stakeholders and have a discussion. It's very important you do so because you may have one side believe in this particular way of putting some articles in the Constitution, another side may not. But let's have an open discussion, transparent discussion, and all the stakeholders are involved. And that's the most transparent way of implementing a constitution. Okay? I think that man is man. I think in the Caribbean right now, the model for good governance and good leadership in terms of running FA is Grenada and St. Kitts. The guy Atiba Harris in St. Kitts is doing a very good job. I think you should try to get him on his panel, on your panel. He's a past player, and he's moving the goalposts in St. Kitts in the right direction. Okay? What I've observed throughout the Caribbean is that it seems like everybody hates the associations. They must be doing something wrong. To me, come across as being people in there trying to hold on to power and not doing the right thing for the players, for the development of players, and also to move football forward in general. That is the systematic problem. They're not promoting football in the country properly. And
could you stay on the line?
On the ground.
Yeah, he will. Did he go?
No, man, he's still on the line. Go ahead, Jamal.
I have a question.
Yes.
My question to you is that are you saying that they should not meet with small stakeholders before they have the total Congress? Because I agree that they must have an overall Congress, but are you saying that that they should not meet with like referees by themselves, coaches, different? This is what I want to clarify based on what you have pointed out.
I would object totally to it, but I don't want to come up. I don't think that's a bad idea, but I think you want to send the right message that you're going to meet with them, but also you're going to have a Congress for you to finalize this constitution.
Yes, and they're going to have a Congress, as far as I've been told.
Okay, fair enough. But you think about it, right? I just want to say in general, to me, it always seems a challenge for association across the Caribbean. I think Andre said that maybe perhaps we cannot generate the revenue, extra outside revenue side of money we get from FIFA to help run the association. I did hear Antoine and Management Show said that all the money that FIFA give to the association every year is not suffice to run all of the programs. So the association has to be very creative in terms of how they bring in extra revenue. When you have associations that are not transparent and come across as being corrupt, sponsors don't want to get involved with this body. So it's important for us to have some people in leadership. I understand that one of the gentlemen from Trinidad talking about it's not about leadership, it's about knowledge, but it's also about trustworthiness, people with good problem-solving skills to be able to, and people with vision to be able to in position to move forward the associations throughout the Caribbean, because we lack leadership, proper leadership at these positions across the Caribbean. So I think that we need to move in the right direction. I think, let me just say before I finish that I think what Anton Cornel is doing with the coaching education system programs is a plus for the Caribbean. And I think I have seen in Antigua that the coaches who have received their B license, I've seen improvements on the field. I've seen the of the coaches improve. So there's some goodness happening, but at least we need to continue to make sure that the FAs are run properly across the Caribbean. Because I think that we have good talent in the Caribbean, and I think my vision is to see our players become professional in Europe and show all the kids that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you in terms of if you apply yourself and listen to the coach and develop yourself, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you to become a good professional in football. Well, listen off here.
Yes, before you go,
hold on. Andre says just before you go. Hold on.
Just before you go, the point just now about knowledge, that's the point was not that is knowledge is what is needed. It's always about leadership. It's always about leadership. But the distinction that was being made is that knowledge helps the individual. How you utilize that knowledge becomes the if you take the knowledge that you have, the understanding you have of whatever the subject matter is, if you can take that and improve the lives of people, then we're talking about somebody who is educated and who might have good leadership qualities and that kind of stuff. So the conversation was not that knowledge is what is needed. It's always about leadership.
Yes, but Andre, what I've observed is that people with good football knowledge is given position, and when they're in that position, they can't function well. You don't see any progression. Okay, so it's about knowledge. It's about trustworthiness. It's about problem-solving skills. It's about able to harness people together and pooling knowledge together and come up with good systems so you could move the football forward. And I think that's where we're lacking true leadership. And it's all of its parameters, good leadership. That's what it's crying out in the Caribbean. Okay, man, I'll listen up.
Yeah, man. All right, then. I'll let Andre and Jamal. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, Andre.
So Jamal, if I'm going to hire a coach, let's say to coach at the U11 level, let's say U11, U12, before I put it out there that I'm going to be hiring a coach, I have to know what I'm looking for in a coach for that age group, right? So, for example, I would want a coach that understands how to create a good, effective learning environment. A coach that understands how kids at that age learn, how kids think, the different stages of development. What the characteristics that matters to that age group, so that a coach that could plan training sessions to develop those needs, what the kids' needs are. So the Constitution is sorted, hypothetically, and it passed the Congress, and we're going to have an election. What type of leader, what type of leader do you think is going to take the football forward in Trinidad and Tobago? Because there's a lot of people thinking that they can do the job, that they could be the president of the federation. What are the characteristics of the leader that you think is necessary to move the federation forward?
Well, for me, the president does not get paid, right? And unless we encourage the president to be corrupt, in football and through football, I think that person must be financially independent and able to support herself or himself by some other means, but still find a way to be an administrator, right? Um, so that
Hold on, Jamal.
financial.
Hold on, Jamal. I need to just repeat that for the people to hear. All right, because I think that is so. Like we have to stop there. So the president. Let me see if I can get it word for word. If not, you can interject. And the president is not paid unless we are encouraging the person to be corrupt. Right? The person through football, the person must be financially independent and still be able to give diligent time to the service of the role of the president of the football.
Right.
I
I
think
am
that's a
saying
good enough
that
paraphrase. I just want to make that
very,
clear.
That's very good.
very good. Very good. You could be a lecturer.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
your grade is good.
Very good. Now, I wrote an article some years on Wired 868 after the multiple charges were given, right? Especially to the Caribbean people, that there should be some kind of payment for the president. I think CONCACAF started to give an honorarium. I don't know if it still exists, but generally, presidents are just refunded the expenses unless a caller could call in and say that in this country, that country, in the Caribbean especially, it is otherwise.
Let
And,
me see if I can, let me reach out to a couple of presidents. I just
right,
ask, is the president of the association are paid? I'm going to ask a couple. Go ahead.
please, right. So I am saying that the president should also have the ability to to get the right people, especially in terms of who is the general secretary, because generally the general secretary runs the day-to-day affairs and is essentially the CEO. So the choice of that person is critical because that is a paid position, right? And how the president and his board or her board comes about selecting the secretary and the technical director, along with the people in finance and marketing, are critical. And for me, the ability to, to make the right choices and the proper decisions in those roles hold the a lot to do with whether we will succeed or fail at any level in the region.
I see Fabi Frano, who is in St. Martin, saying that they get 25,000 K per year. I think that is the honorarium you're talking about
Yeah,
from um
right.
right. And I just one of the presidents of in the CFU just responded saying that it is still an honorarium from CONCACAF that they get. So it is not a paid position.
Right. Good. So there's my point.
And yeah,
Right.
yeah, I can see that is an issue.
Yeah. So if it's not just any and everybody, and this is not me discounting anybody, but someone who has his or her own business and able to take the time off to spend time as an administrator may have more time to oversee the operations than somebody working 8 to 4 under somebody else company or stuff like that. I think these are critical issues. Unless, of course, again, as I said, the right choices are being made in terms of the technical directors and the general secretaries.
But when we talk about leadership,
All right, so let me just bring some clarity. I think so, and this is from good sources that Dominica and the St. Lucia presidents are paid,
Right.
and it's a possibility that the Montserrat president is also paid. But the rest of the presidents are dependent on the honorarium, and like you said, they have their own private businesses. So
And I think the president should be paid.
yeah, I believe so. Listen, and here's why this is important. So we have had a big debate in Jamaica recently because the Ministry of Finance, and though this is in government, but the principle applies, said that we need to raise the salaries of our parliamentarians so that more qualified people would be interested in sitting in those positions. All right. And people are saying that, well, it is too much money to pay them. But then the Ministry of Finance was saying that, listen, at the end of the day, if you don't pay people the right way, they're not going to get involved. And the people who get involved, if this is what they have to do because they have no other qualifications, then the possibility of acting corrupt because the pay is so minimal, then creeps into their minds.
Yes, I agree. And they might be the people who got 60 out of 100 rather than 95 out of 100 in
Yeah.
class, you know? So I think the president should be paid. The job of a president of a football association is a serious one, is a time consuming and a very demanding job.
Why,
Outside of
why
the
haven't why,
leader,
why haven't that request been made though of FIFA? Or why isn't that in the constitution that the presidents are, even if they're getting the honorarium, but they get a monthly salary?
but why are some presidents being paid? I think, and some not, because you just mentioned a couple that is being paid, right?
well,
Who is making those payments?
well, no, it had to come from the MA and their own modus operandi, and I see nothing wrong with that. Too much times we play hide and seek with remuneration,
Right,
and
right.
I like to make the point that you have a coach born and bred in the Caribbean. He or she can only make a certain sum of money, but yet the uh, com, com, competency level compares well with any European or South American coach. And they come in and they get 4 or 5 times the amount. But yet, we do not bring a general secretary from Europe or South America,
Yep,
right? to,
yep.
run the affairs.
Yeah,
So,
but the general secretary for CONCACAF now is a French Colombian or a Colombian French person, not even someone from CONCACAF itself.
right. So, my point is that
Yes.
people get very itchy on the question of remuneration. And we tend to feel that if somebody getting paid as a secretary or a president and they're working, that they is something to be ashamed of. I don't think so. I think pay the president.
Yeah. All right, we have a caller. We have a call online. Welcome to the show, Gunners Boss. Good afternoon.
Big up, big up, man. Andre.
Yes, sir.
Never stop yelling when my company showing Andre. Can't time me yelling, I go like, you know, respect me yelling, you showing your respect, and you know what answer. You
Nah,
answer.
respect you, my youth.
When Gunner's boss, when Gunner's boss say, when Gunner's boss say Andre, you answer immediately. Nobody hesitate like cataract and then you got yourself again.
No, very
Big
respectful.
man. Big man over there, so I don't know your name, but you sound like a man who could, a man of the cloth. You preach well. What's your name, sir?
His name is Jamal.
Shabazz.
Jamal Shabazz.
Jamal
Shabazz.
Assalamu alaikum, Jamal.
Walaikum salam.
All right, sir. Who don't know what we just send on the bad to them. Anyway, you know what? I like the things them we are bring to it, you know. And there was a time before this podcast where me and Manningsman used to be on a nice radio station. We're not giving anybody any free plug over here. We're just saying we was on a radio station and we have this discussion. And I always disagree with people working for free. Whether you're in a position or not, there have to be something there coming for you. Let's say, for instance, there was a president number 45. They said he's the richest person in America for many years, and he's a billionaire and a trillionaire and all of these. I don't think he run into politics because he was a billionaire. Everybody run into these things to put money in their pocket. So don't care how much money the president have. There's have to be a way or a loophole where him have to find for him where to get some money, you know. Because I can't take out money out of my business consistently or living consistently out of my business while working for the people for free. How am I going to employ someone to pay them when I am not getting paid? None of that no look good or sound good to me, you know.
True.
Yeah, so when I speak from how my perspective, you know, how I would feel. I don't feel good to have a job where I am not getting any money. I have to live off of my business, my independent cash, and have to pay management to do the work. No. There have to be a way for me to get some money. So pay the president. Maybe if we was paying our presidents, we would be getting better things done. Because they would spend more time on the job and not being distracted, doing their business and other things, because that's where their normal life of living comes from. So that is another reason why again in a man's manner, always I tell these people we come on and Mr. Ricketts and Mr. this and Mr. JFF and that. Do you ever think these people is not getting paid and should be commended for doing free jobs for us over the years and putting us, even if we go to the World Cup and get knocked out in the first round and win a game? A freeness I put to them and I never advocate. All y'all over there on these microphones talking, who should never be allowed to even speak in public, some of y'all, about anything over here. And oh yes, this, that, and the third. There you go. If y'all listening, call and make your voice be heard. Over here, so I show you. Over here, you have to call you go guilty. Always I go like on a height from the elite people. Management stop running me not done yet. If you want to give me a hole, put me on a hole because me they have to over hour. I not see nobody too far. So if you want to put me on a hole, you say something.
All right, no, but we are hearing some noise in the background, and we have a guest. So that's one of the points, because he was making several points, and one was a compensation for persons in the presidential seat in MAs across the Caribbean. So he's going to make some other points. So I don't know if you want to hold and mute your phone and let him continue his conversation.
Yeah, all right. I will do that. And if anybody want to call in and want me to hang up, just type it in the comment section. Right. I will hang up.
All right. What I know as well is this, though. In Jamaica, while the president get the CONCACAF honorarium, there is a board fee that is paid to the board members as well, which would include the president, who is a part of the board. So
well, I agree with the caller. I agree with the brother that, pay the president, make sure, and even if it's a board fee, deal with the board fee like a multinational company, where the chairman and the board members get handled properly, because, I am very critical of administrators. And I try to be objective. What about those who don't try to be objective? And the kind of things administrators subjected to, I think they deserve to be properly compensated.
And I would agree with you too, but I also would add to this conversation because I'm a player-centric individual.
I know
That
this was
same
coming.
mentality should apply to players.
Right. But let me say this.
Uh,
You know, we got to bring Caribbean football to the point where clubs pay players, right?
hey, that's a big one
Some,
right here. No, and
no
not the
way.
national team.
Sometimes
And
we confuse cricket where people get a retainer. Now, most federations in the Caribbean could give a match fee and a bonus to the players, but not a salary. You know, so we got to look at a system that suits us,
yeah,
and you know, and better able to suit our economic situation as well.
let me,
Whatever
hold
it
on,
is.
Andre. Gunners boss. Fabi Frano from St. Martin wants to call in. So if you hang up, he can call. I think he's trying to get through. All right, and then you can call back. But let me say this: I like that because the truth is, the top nations, it is the club finances that sustain the players. What you find is this, that in the Caribbean, for the most part, people depend on the national team to give them, like, the dependency and the funds from the national team is higher, which I think is the problem. So we need to create, I agree with Jamal, we need to create that system where the clubs are paying the players so well. So when they come to the national team to play, there is some payment, but it is nothing compared to what their clubs. Your national team cannot be paying you more than your club, because how often you have international games.
I don't think anywhere in any CS football country the national team is paying you more than your club. I think
In
the
Jamaica,
system is, well, look,
in Jamaica,
if we take here in the US, there's a collective bargaining agreement,
but I'm
right?
telling you, in Jamaica that happens. In Jamaica,
Uh-huh.
what players get per game for match fees is more than what I would say probably 90% of the club give them,
Mhm.
or more, probably 95%. Maybe Mount Pleasant is an exception, and probably one or two other clubs for certain players. So all the players, they're made, especially the domestic players, their major source of, like, what you quote unquote call big money is when they play for the national team and get match fees and even per diem.
Yeah, and well, that's no fault of the player. That's the way the system's set up, and the club has to improve that. And I'm sure that that's probably the same in Trinidad, right, Jamal? In Trinidad
Yeah.
and Tobago, it's probably the same, and that's something that needs to change. Football needs to become an industry.
Yeah,
I
we
think the
have
way
we
to
have
that is that football is not an industry. It's a semi-pro. It's a part-time thing, really, and we need to improve that.
we have Fabi Frano online, Andre. So let's just take him and then we come back to Jamal. He's calling from St. Martin. So let's hear what it is like over there. Fabi Frano, welcome to the show.
Blessings. Good afternoon, Mannings. Good afternoon, Andre. Good afternoon, Jamal.
Good afternoon, Fabi.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Blessings. Here, when the Emperor's boss, I make some comment, and no, I agree with this man with some of the things he must say, because he's stating that what if there's somebody who is not being paid by the FA, but he has to hire somebody, and I would probably guess that he's talking to the president. No, the president don't hire nobody. There's a board that do the hiring, and the president can't pay nobody because that's the FA's job or the MA's job. They are the ones who pay persons and hire persons. You get what I mean? The president no go around and hire nobody, which are happening in this part of the island, where the president hire whosoever he wants and hire him brother and all of these business. You get what I mean? Them thing they must stop. And concerning paying the presidents, I am not against anybody being paid. You get what I mean? But at the end of the day, how much can you pay the person, especially if they're not a FIFA member? They are only CFP and a CONCACAF member. Now, how much money you get really and truly that from the FA that you're going to be paid.
All right, Fabi Frano, don't stop. Let's stop at that point. Let me let Jamal answer that. So Jamal, what he's saying is that if that CFU nation, they're part of CFU, but they're not part of FIFA, they're not getting any FIFA money. How are they going to pay the president in that position?
Yeah, that's difficult. And I understand that as a fact with those countries that are that don't have independence in that sense, right? Very, very difficult. Uh, so, again, then it comes back down to the kind of money they get from FIFA. If it's the same, then they could agree on something that is suitable for the person administering the affairs. Because big country, small country, the job is the job, eh? You know, it doesn't mean that a small country with a small population does not have challenges and problems, right? Having less people does not make things easier in any way. In fact, in some cases, it makes it more difficult.
Okay, all right, Fabi Frano, you hear the response to that. He agrees with you. Go ahead. What other point you want to make? You're going on to something else.
Yeah. Well, but here's why I'm partly against the whole thing of paying presidents, partly against. Yeah, in that if you start to pay presidents, you get what I mean? Now what will happen, I'm gonna go sit down on this thing, especially if according to his constitution, whereas there's no limit on a term, or there's no limit on how long they can sit in. You get what I mean? Now people are gonna sit down there for 10 terms. Why? Because him look on the salary and say, good, me not go nowhere. Which opens the window now for persons being corrupt. Because him go hold on to maybe $1 million or $2 million him get per year. Him go hold on to that for their life. You get what I mean? So it opens for persons actually being corrupted because they see all of this cash they get per month or per year. They're comparing to the jobs and stuff like that they have. And besides that, like how much work are these guys doing really and truly? Because now you have to set out things for them to do, specifications, which really and truly are the way calling money against.
The
CEOs of the FA,
the
Gensec. Yeah. These are the guys who are doing quite a good amount of job. You get what I mean? So then I'm saying, no, is it that he's going to take over some of what the Gensec is doing? Because how much meetings do not actually go?
Yeah, but instead of not doing it, wouldn't it be easier then to put term limits on it? So you say that
no, that is no.
Can't you put it in the Constitution? Yeah, already you put it in the Constitution that says probably.
But then it's going to be agreement. It's going to now take agreement because no, if it's a case now, we no money where this money is going to have experiences. If it's a case now where this money is probably getting $10,000 a month, yeah, for argument's sake. Now what will start to happen, money? This money is going to start give clubs or club presidents piece of what he's getting to vote for me always. You know what I mean? So this is the problem you're going to face. And in small nation like this, it is happening. It is happening, and we can tell you have a first-hand experience. It is happening. The same honorarium that they get, people just giving members from different clubs. Yo, see a piece of change up, vote for me.
All right.
All this time.
So Fabi Frano, all right. So just hang up because I want to make sure that Jamal respond to these things, and I know he has to go. Cool. Yeah, man. But appreciate your feedback and your comment. Yeah, man. All right. So let's get back to Jamal, and then afterward we can take some calls. Go ahead, now, Jamal. He was saying that, listen, what about the person who decided that they're going to stay because they are getting paid? My suggestion was that just put term limits in it. You can't run more than boards do that. Board says, I'm on a board and every year, after 2 terms, you cannot come back on the board until like several years after. Like 2 cycles have to pass before you can even be nominated back to the board. So I think that is how it can be solved. But go ahead and make the other points. I know Andre has some more questions for you as well.
Go ahead, Andre.
Jamal, look, this conversation that's taking place it's happening behind closed doors. I think there's I think there's a need for this conversation to also the public be made aware of what's taking place, right? Because there are people in that space that wants to lead the federation going forward. So we would need to know if they're rational, basically, in their thought processes. I have tried to get someone from the normalization committee in the past and have not been successful doing that. Could we get someone from the normalization committee, someone who's objecting, maybe not at the same time, but to have different so that we can understand clearly what the normalization committee is trying to achieve, and two, what the objections are. Because I think at the end of the day, like Jamaica, maybe the pool for who is voting would be increased, and people need to know who we are dealing with.
Well, I think you're crediting me with more influence
Jamal,
in
I know you're a
Trinidad.
long time, buddy. I know you're a long time, Jamal. Don't do that. I know,
That
I know you. Look,
uh,
watch.
I have a
Hold on
stake.
before you answer. The label Caribbean man doesn't come just like that.
Right. Um, I'm very interested in everything that happens Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago, of course, is a special interest. Um, I think if the right approach is made, the normalization committee, and I think they should answer the the invitation to explain. I think it's a good opportunity for them, and if I could do anything, I would. I think also maybe not on the same program, but people like Osman Dongna, Selby Brown, um, should be people who should be given an opportunity to to share their different view. But I don't think it may hurt if they own together once you and Manning's man could control the, the dialogue flow, you know. Uh, but I think it would be an interesting program, right? Um, because yeah, there's a lot of misinformation and there's not enough clarity. Um, and sometimes, you know, it appears that the normalization committee is being secretive, but I do know that they do not do anything without the guidance and direction of FIFA/CONCACAF. So, from that sense, I understand that sometimes they come in for licks that is not due to them. But good idea. Um, on the question of governance overall, I think in the region, FIFA has set something that I think we can follow. That you need government, you need the corporate sector, and you need the football federation/ fraternity. I think that type of tripartite partnership is necessary. And I'll show you something in cricket that happened in Guyana that impressed me. It took a little while for the Amazon Warriors to bring home the title, but the governments, successive governments, stuck with them, right? The fans stuck with them, and corporate Guyana stuck with them, you know? And you see, if you could have felt the feeling that came out of that CPL victory, I felt it. People like to say I'm Trinidadian, but I am an Amazon warrior, and I felt that feeling that we all felt when West Indies won the T20, and this is what we must understand as Caribbean people. that feeling inside, that spirit that comes out from our national teams, that should bring us to our senses for more selflessness, more, honesty and sincerity in how we approach the job.
Yeah, Andre, I want to take that question online. It says, if you're paying the president, will you have to have measurable performance standards by which they can be evaluated to determine their effectiveness in office?
This is Jamal. There's a question by Kendall. I think I can
Very
quickly
good.
get
I
Kendall
think
Reyes.
must. I think it's a must. I think you know, there must be some, KPIs, and not just to leave it to the next electoral term. You know, um, with payment comes a certain level of responsibility for efficiency and delivery. So I totally agree with that point by Kendall Reyes.
And management, so you know that Kendall Reyes is a defender that I probably would have beat often and score on Jamal. It's like,
We did have Kendall. We did have
That's
Jamal,
very
Kendall on.
often.
We did have Kendall on
Kendall
recently.
Reyes,
Yeah.
Kendall Reyes, as same as he was is a coach,
Yeah.
was a top defender.
Yes.
Some
Yes.
people
yes, he was.
feel, some people feel you cannot be tough and brutal and constructive. He was a total defender. So don't let Andre try to twist it.
So what you saying that top defenders don't get beat?
This is not a player who people got wrong a lot.
Yeah, and I see this one here saying, Manning, ask your co-host how we haven't seen programs like yours, which is like this, coming out of the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, or the rest of the Caribbean.
Let me, Jamal, let me say this to you in regards to that question. Put that question back up. You know, Jamal, I am trying, and I'm hoping that we can find a person or two in Trinidad to start a program like this. I'm still a coach, and I just can't have that responsibility. And I hope maybe you can help me find someone, because what I don't want to do is, the saying, Jamal, back home, you don't want to overstay your welcome.
Right.
Right? I've been invited and allowed to use this platform to have these discussions, but um, I think this question in particular has been asked a little bit often these days. So maybe I'm getting to the end of the line here. So so keep that in mind. Look, my answer to this question, Tennessee, is that um, in Trinidad, our population is a little bit different. The mindset that people function from, in my opinion, is that people would rather um, be quiet, be passive, and not say things that could potentially upset anybody, because they don't want to be out of contention for what they may have in mind. I don't know. So for me, I've had a hard time finding someone. I think everybody rather be in the background and have private conversations instead of airing things out. Jamal, if you could put in place a conversation, because part of good governance is transparency. And as you pointed out just now, we use these words all the time, but what does transparency look like? What does integrity look like? You live it every day. So if if we have a value of integrity, there's a set of things that we be doing on a daily basis that equates to integrity, right? So these are the principles that we live by. So my thing is, if the NC is following the direction of FIFA, and we understand that and accept that's their responsibility, I think they have a responsibility as well to talk to the people so that they don't seem as though they're not transparent and they don't seem as though they're doing something wrong. I think, and if they would have that conversation, just so that people could understand what they're trying to cut. Because right now we've spoken for almost 3 hours or the better part of 3 hours, and still it's difficult to understand what in the Constitution that actually needs to change. I think I have an idea, but that's not me. I don't want to venture into something that I don't fully understand. And I think somebody needs to explain that. What part of the Constitution does not meet FIFA statutes?
Very good. I think that's a fair question, and I think that even if the normalization committee not equipped to answer it, I think they could get somebody from CONCACAF or FIFA to come along with them, um, and not just make it a proxy. Let's be real. Football, like cricket, plays a very important part in our lives in the region, and the administration of it um, is what links those who live in North America, those who live in Europe, to the land that they migrated from. You know, and the, you know, these sports, have important roles in our lives, both from a professional and grassroots level. And I think it demands a certain amount of accountability. And as I said at the start of the program, the coach is forced to account for the results of the team and the game. And the players have got to account to the coach. And the coach have got to account to the public and to the administrators. Who then does this administrator account to? And
Yeah.
what are the standards that we hold him or her by? You know,
Right.
um, I have a session, but I want to leave something for the leader in Caribbean sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
That again from the scriptures, we, and I don't have it too correct because I'm not Christian, but I read it. You know the story when Jesus take the five little fishes and the two loaves of bread and he feed the whole multitude? Well,
Yeah.
remember that story?
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, they would have killed Jesus right there because the multitude was hungry,
Right.
right? And nowhere in the Bible or nowhere in our perception can we see five little fishes and two loaves of bread feeding a whole multitude, because a multitude is masses of people.
Right.
But no way in the story did it say that people was dissatisfied
Right.
and people grows with what they got.
Right.
So my limited understanding is that people felt that Jesus, peace be upon him, delivered justly what little that it had. People were satisfied that what how Jesus dealt with what little fishes and loaves of bread, that it was justly distributed. And I think this is what those who are led, the masses of the people, want to see from our leaders. Justice in distribution. Just as Jesus, peace be upon him, did. And I dare say that this is what we should aspire to. I don't want to
Mm.
go on and on. And Andrea, I want to thank Olia for having me. I seek refuge in Allah from misleading others and misleading myself and betraying others and betraying myself. And I hope that if there's anything that was beneficial in what I have said, then the praises are all due to Almighty God. So I want to thank you and Management for having me.
Okay, but you're welcome. But before you go, I want to say to you also that one of our colleagues earlier this morning referred to our footballers. He referenced it. He juxtaposed it with the Russian government. He said the football is run by oligarchs. That's his thing. I want to say that this is a very important moment in Trinidad and Tobago football, because if our generation don't get it right, I don't know I can't imagine what the future would look like. Okay, and I've been saying this to you for a long time now. This is the time for our generation to not be offended by conversations, by people with intent, with ambition to see the football get better. I was in Germany in 2006, and the pride that I felt, I took my whole family, and it was a proud moment to see Trinidad and Tobago play against England and play against Switzerland and Paraguay. It was a real proud moment, and I want to witness that again, not just for Trinidad and Tobago, but I think other teams from the region, with the way FIFA is expanding the football now, to see other teams from the region, have that experience. So the suggestion just now, I think it has to come from good administration, and accountability and transparency, and those things are important. So if you could assist with getting people to come, this is important. The Constitution is a very important part of the way forward to try to figure out who the leader would be. If you can help in that regard to have somebody come and explain, I personally would appreciate that.
Well, I give a full commitment to that, and my wife now mentioned for me, Andre for president. It's not a paid political announcement.
No, well, I was thinking Jamal.
So let me get back to you on that. Give me a couple of days. And again, thank you very much.
All right, my brother. Take care, okay? Be good.
Yeah,
all right. Man's man. Man's man is missing in action. Guys, this was, we had Jamal Shabazz, the head coach of the Guyanese national team, with us today, sharing his insight in terms of football in the region, and in particular also discussing what can happen, what is happening at the moment with the Trinidad and Tobago Constitution. I don't know if Kendall is available and would like to come on for a few minutes and share his thoughts in terms of what he just heard. Kendall is is from Trinidad and Tobago as well, and very insightful individual. He's been on before. Just give me a quick minute here. Let me see if I can grab Kendall. Okay, Kendall would be with us shortly. Duklan, man is not sleeping. Trust me. He isn't sleeping. But I know that he's not 100% himself today. So while we await Kendall, Tennessee was asking earlier in terms of why we don't have someone doing this in Trinidad. My response, my intention was not to say that they are scared. I didn't characterize it that way. So those are your words and not mine. I just invited Kendall on. We had him on before. He's from Trinidad and Tobago, and I just want to hear his thoughts before we leave a little bit in terms of what he just heard. He's trying to log in. Hold on for a quick minute, please.
Okay. All right. And yeah, man.
Management. So what do you thought?
Yes. I thought I thought it very I thought it was a very good discussion. I think we need more of this sort of discussion on the platforms. And here's why. Because it add value to the footballing discussion. It it helps to bring about uh just the kind of collective framework we need in the Caribbean to transform the football.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we're so focused on personality that we don't see big picture.
Yeah.
We are very myopic many times in our views and even in the discussion. And I will tell you this: I could have generated greater numbers by discussing something controversial,
Right.
allowing people to cuss me out, and I
Right.
cuss them out, and we hurt up, raise our emotional um, uh, charges,
Right.
and then at the end, it changes nothing. It adds no value. But the numbers are high. It racks up high numbers, and I think we have to find a way to have this kind of dialogue where it's it's more about the overall development of growth of football across the region than finding personalities to talk to and address and argue with and fight with. Welcome to the show, Kendall.
Thank
So
you, my brother and Andre. Thank you.
Again,
yeah,
let me
welcome,
say
Kendall.
welcome again.
Again.
Again, yeah.
So my thing, man, is I'm very conscious of the fact that I've never want to be part of discussions that's about personality conflict. I know we in the region, in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, sometimes we have people that get offended quite easily, because the discussions, they may become uncomfortable with discussions that may seem to um, address things that they would probably not want to talk about. Okay, but at the end of the day, you don't get nothing done without conversations. You have to have open communication. You have to be able as leaders, we have to be able to listen, right? Get ideas from others, hear from others, know what people want and what make people uncomfortable. And so for me, the intention is always to have good conversations that if 2% of what we discuss allow somebody to move in the next. I hear all the time that I'm wasting time, that nothing is going to change in the football, that the leaders are who they are, but I do believe that something can and will change. And as I said to Jamal just now, this could be a pivotal moment. Kendall.
Yeah. Again, I apologize because I had another meeting with USL, so on some other matters.
Right.
So I had to leave the show, but I came back in. The context of the conversation obviously is always a positive one. In my mind, it's positive because when you're looking for solutions, that's the approach you have to take. You have to dig in and you have to unearth certain things in order to get the positive solution that you're looking for. A couple of things I heard mentioned. Obviously, the Constitution is a guiding document for any organization, any entity. And so the value that's placed on constructing the Constitution in a way that it benefits the majority of the people that you are working for, and that's what you do as football administrators. You're working for the public of the country that you represent. So that's a very, very critical thing that needs to be handled, understanding that it was one of the main points that the Normalization Committee in Trinidad and Tobago had to address and deal with. That governance is the foundation of everything else that you're going to build off of. So the guiding document and the content and the quality of the content, the way that is structured, put together, and then presented is the foundation, the platform from which anyone who comes into leadership role would have a place that keeps them sort of like with guardrails.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's really critical. We talk a lot about leadership in the region, whether it's in football or just in government. And some of the same issues are so consistent. But you can't have a quality product in any industry unless the administration, unless the leadership has the vision for what that product looks like and what it should look like, and then putting the pieces in place in order to produce that product. Often we look at, and Jamal alluded to the fact that we have a way we want to measure coaches and players, but we don't have a way that we measure administrators. And that's where the measurement should take place first. All of the things that allow the football to be played at a certain level, that's where the measurement should be taking place first. I was on when you guys talked to the president of the Grenada Federation, and I was just blown away with that guy because some of the things that he shared, but particularly when you talk about challenges within the region, and to Jamal's point about how do we function better in the region, if transportation is a major issue, not for Grenada, but for all the islands, for the entire region, then as regional leaders, we have to come to the table and say, how do we solve this problem? Because it directly impacts the financial wherewithal of the operations of your federation. So that has to be a priority, right? And that is not one island making a decision about it. They have to come together. Everything you do for the region is going to impact every federation individually and collectively. That's what leadership is. Take, for example, the gas industry, right? The oil and gas industry. Exxon doesn't operate on Exxon's behalf alone because they're not in it by themselves. There's Exxon, there's BP, there's this one, and they have to come together to figure out what is best for the oil and gas industry. Yes, they're going to benefit individually, but if as an industry as a whole, they don't have the right pieces in place, then they're also all going to suffer, right? So we could take those concepts from any kind of business entity, conglomerate or collective, and understand that you have to do those things for the collective to benefit, and then the individuals will grow. If we keep doing things independently, we're not going to go anywhere. Man made some points about the regional play, the CFU tournaments, and inviting other countries in. That's a good way to try to help raise the level, to challenge the level, okay? I always think about, for example, when I was growing up, there used to be teams coming from England, from Europe and other places into the Caribbean to play club teams, and how big of a deal that was for us as young players to be in the same space and watch a Glenn Hoddle and those guys. There's so much value that comes from those kinds of arrangements, and like all of those things have sort of fall out the window. And we need to get back to those things. We need to get back to some of those things, but from a holistic collective approach rather than just an individual approach. Every MA is dealing with their own issues, but the common thread that I hear and I've experienced is, where's the leadership? Where's the transparency? Where's the integrity? Where's the trustworthiness? We keep coming right back to those same things that is the basis of what sound leadership is, and that has to be answered. those questions have to be answered. So where are the people? Where are the people who can make the difference? And are these MAs and organizations open? Jamal started his conversation about Jesus and collaboration and going to other people, having other people involved in the process, right? So why doesn't that not happen? And it's not a collective of the same kind of people. It was a bunch of different people with different skill sets. So if I'm trying to dominate a space and I only bring people who think like me, we're never going to grow.
Yep.
We're never going to grow. And that seems to be the trend. People who all in the same mindset, in the same space. You have to have something else that would allow you to step back and say, wait a minute, is this really working for us? And it doesn't become, oh, well, this is just the way it's been, so we just keep doing it. But on the other hand, you expect them to have some different results, some different things happening. All of those things, to me, need to be addressed. There need to be some changes. And yeah.
And there's one of the things about the platform is that you get to hear on these from all sorts of mindsets, right? So
Yeah.
Mandelmans allow people to call in, people write in the chat. You hear things and you read things sometimes, and you're like, how did he arrive there? How did he, what is this about? But at the end of the day, everybody has a chance to express themselves, and I think that's important. And we see too often where if you're not thinking like me, then I don't have time for you. I don't have and sometimes we learn more when we allow people that think different to us, when we listen to people that think different to us and their perspective, because sometimes they have good information. So management, it's all yours.
What I'll say is that the things that we have had the most success at as Caribbean people is the things that there is integration of all of us. Most of our top performers in Olympics and World Championship come through not pen relays, not a CONCACAF competition in track and field, but in what is called CARIFTA. That somehow track and field administrators in the most difficult times find a way of bringing our best talent, junior talent, together. And you can check those who won the Austin Seeley Award. Many of them go on to win Olympic medals and World Championship medals. You can go from the Usain Bolt to the Veronica Campbell. Most of these guys. You may have the odd ones, Kirani James, right? The West Indies cricket team has also provided great success for us, right? When it was way more integrated, when territories begin to believe that we should have this and we should have this, part of it has led to the downfall of West Indies cricket. So let's use the track and field model because we compete together. CARIFTA is joined, but individual countries go and represent at global championship, which is similar to what we do in football. There has to be, I believe, our best talent from the different territories at the junior level, finding a way to play together, not at the CONCACAF level, but at the Caribbean level. At the Caribbean level, we have to find that. Cricket still find a way with little or no finances to still keep under 15 regional competition, under 17 regional competition. They even have a high performance center. Do it for a West Indies cricket team. What I am saying is that when there is an international window, your under 20s are also released if they are in high quality clubs. If we cannot play the Caribbean Cup for our international based footballers, why not play it for the domestic players or the junior players? So by the time we are ready to take on Panama and Mexico and the USA, our junior players would have had 30 games with other Caribbean nations. 30 times that they have traveled. The administrators would have had the ability to work in certain environment. So they are used to one traveling. They know how to time their travel, the time their training. When they get to the CONCACAF tournament, we don't have that. And if we don't find a way to make that happen, all of us are going to struggle unless we keep on depending on all our talents coming from abroad.
You know, that's a real good point you make there, Manning Man, because I'm thinking about in the US, right? All their youth programs, their youth national programs, they don't have a regional, outside of the regional CONCACAF competition, they don't have anything else to do. But because they have resources, they send those teams to a lot of other competitions so that they are getting those exposures, those numbers of exposures and different types of exposures. So again, what works for our region because of proximity and limited resources compared to the US or even Canada is by, as you suggest, having those regional competitions so that our players are getting as many exposures and experiences as possible. Totally agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, Trinidad could host it because, again, with the cricket, what do? And Carifta, they don't travel all over the Caribbean. It's in one place. This year, it's in this place. And then here's what. As a Caribbean people, we say, okay, we're going to do this in Grenada. Let's find resources and sponsors to help make one stadium there better so that they can host this tournament. You do it in Trinidad, you do the same thing. In St. Lucia, I think there is no reason why our leadership, our MAs, can't do this. Because, again, I made this point earlier. In Jamaica, I should know who are the top 10 CFU under 18 players. I should be able to talk about a young Trini on my platform, a young St. Lucian, a young Grenadian, a young Haitian. In the same way in Trinidad, they should know a young Jamaican making waves. And if all of us have these names talking on our platforms, whether it be what they call mainstream medias and on these platforms, people begin to take notice.
I remember, and part of this might be the lack of humility and the lack of. I remember when Trinidad played Jamaica in Jamaica. I can't remember who did the interview. What I remember about the situation is somebody mentioned the Jean Whisper, and the response was whoever the person was that responded, we have our own Dijon Whisper, as opposed to appreciating the fact that he
There you
exists,
go.
right? And give him the, compliment him, whatever we need to do, right? In that moment, because the question wasn't about whether or not we have one. You understand what I'm saying? So I think, and that comes from, that's humility, but that also comes from real solid education that allows you to understand how to deal with those moments. You lose a game, you're a manager. How do you respond in your press conference to the fact that you lost? Are you humble enough to congratulate the opponent for winning? Maybe talk about their qualities and why they win, as opposed to belittling them, right? And all of those things are part of growing up, of part of education, part of understanding how are we supposed to function. Because as a coach myself, exposure is so important. I've been to a major tournament on 3 occasions because before I was able to win it. And every time I went, I learned more about that tournament. It was difficult to win. But you had to understand, and only being exposed to it allow you to understand what it takes to be successful in that space. So it's the same thing for players. And if we are not providing opportunities to our players, exposure in the region and outside of it, and look, we could bring people in. So
Yeah.
if the tournament is in Jamaica, for example, and we invite the under-17 team from clubs, professional clubs in Mexico. Say you invite 2 teams from Mexico this year, maybe 2 from Honduras, 2 from America, and you mix them in with what we have, so they're getting a taste of everything, right?
Yeah. Let me give you a good example. When I was doing the thumbnail for Marlon Glean, the president of the Grenada, I put on it about qualifying for World Cup 2026, and he says no, he doesn't want that to be the title, because while they may get there, that is not their goal.
Right.
Which is very good. So they understand that their first step is to be one of the top Caribbean teams.
Right.
All right. Why do I raise that? Right? Because he could said, okay, yeah, we're qualifying for 2026, knowing that where he's starting from to get there, it
Almost
nothing is impossible, but it's so difficult that why would I set that as a target and then at the end of it I say I have failed? Let's set ourselves a realistic target, and if that dream comes true of getting there, that is fine. Two different things.
Right.
I say that to just make this point. When an under-17 tournament is played amongst Caribbean nations, it's not about getting to the under-17 World Cup. It's not about we defeated Trinidad, we defeated Jamaica, we defeated. It's not about that. It is giving these players enough minutes at a high quality level that even if all the Caribbean teams, which is impossible, don't qualify for the under-17 World Cup, here is what. You will have more people, more youngsters who have played at this level, that more clubs have more footage to look at, playing at a high level. So you'll have Real Madrid saying that now we have real footage outside of the SBF and the SSL in Trinidad. We have real footage of these guys playing against other high quality opponents and doing well, especially because you guys invited the Tottenham under-17 team to be in your tournament and they played well against them. Let us see if we can bring them on trial to Real Madrid or on trial to Barcelona. That's part of the objective. So it's not about who is the top under-17 Caribbean territory. It's not about that. It is putting these players in a more competitive environment, creating the framework where your administrators, your massage therapists, your physiotherapists are learning at the under-17 level, so when they get to the World Cup qualifiers, they also know how to better prepare the teams from the physical training aspect, getting the game breakdown and the analysis. You begin to put those things in from your under-17, traveling and moving up and down, so that when you get to the senior level, the mishaps that we're having and the failures that we're having, we're already trained and prepared for those things. So that's what it's about many times. It's not just, oh, we won the under-17 10 times in a row. It's just like when the school tell me in Jamaica that they have won the schoolboy football competition 50 times. How many players have you had playing in Europe during that time at high college? Well, check our trophy cabinet. You think Real Madrid gonna come and look at your high school trophy cabinet to find who the best player is? They are not.
I just had that conversation yesterday, and from our last U20 team, right? There are players from that team. Nobody was signed anywhere, but there's players from that team that is dominating schoolboy football against kids 4 and 5 years younger than them. You know what I'm saying? And somehow that is being amplified as developmental success. We got to put that in perspective, right? The best 20-year-old kids in most countries is in a pro club somewhere playing football, right? They're not playing at that level. They're training every day, and they're trying to become, they're trying to improve and have an impact on the world scene. So we just got to organize it in our head that, look, we've got to put things in context. Is schoolboy football important? Yes, it is important. what is it? It's really extracurricular activities. So should our elite players, our best players, be in that space? I think most people would tell you no. That they should be in other spaces. I was watching Copa Libertadores the other day, and there's a young man, I think he's 17, 18 years old, and he's already tagged to go to Real Madrid, right? He's playing at that level, and he's playing very good football. And so when you hear people talk about talent and say, well, this one is good, but he's playing schoolboy football in this country versus a kid who's playing at that level, dominating and already attracted the attention of top teams around the world, I think is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Andre, I'm Manning Man. I think one of the things that both of you all are talking about is visionary leadership, which every time you guys see me say something, I talk about that because it's about thinking from a bigger perspective, right? So let's just use a simple example like the secondary schools football league in a small nation like whether it's Jamaica, West Trinidad, right? You have a pro league. Why not take your top players? Let's say your top U17 players, U20 players combine and have them play in the pro league. In the pro league as part of the developmental process for them. You know how many games they're going to get? You know what kind of exposure they're going to get playing against more mature players? But that would be more beneficial in the long term than them playing secondary schoolboy football.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to have a different mindset in how you're approaching it. But the big picture thinking is what allows you to make those kinds of decisions that are a little bit out of the box, right? You got to be thinking out of the box, and that's what visionary thinking is. It's not the norm. You've got to be able to do that. I had a young man who I tried to work with his family on an opportunity to come to the U.S. based on his age and other things, that could get into a club and be in a high school for 2 years. He's young enough to do all of that. But he wanted to stay and play secondary school football intercol. That was important to him, right? But yet he's a player who's aspiring to play at the national level, to play at the Division I, college level. And so in my mind, I'm saying whoever is giving him information about just staying and playing and trying to win intercol doesn't understand the big picture for that player's development in the long run. That's the kind of thinking we have to be able to get past. Visionary leaders can make that difference. And not to overlook what the diaspora could bring to the table, because there's plenty to come from the diaspora.
Yeah, listen, Andre.
Yes, sir.
Very, very good discussion. Kendall, I need to come on some more now because I'm looking to replace Andre now because
I see that coming. Don't worry.
He has become too close to one of the next was called Cataract, and a little bit trouble now. So,
Manning Man, let me tell you this, right? Jamal Shabazz just verified the qualities that I brought to the team. You can't replace Andrew with me. He has his qualities and I have mine.
Listen, no addition by subtraction. Addition by addition.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I just hope that even though sometimes we speak, passionately, it's not because we want football to die. Is criticism is always must be done respectfully and must be appreciated for what it is, and not everything that is said can work. I'll never forget my conversation with Brian. I think Brian Lewis, and he said that he always said that it's great ideas, but then he always come back to money. But one of the things I've learned when it comes down to money, one of the persons I worked with in my earlier days, his company said that, listen, never tell me that I can't afford it. If it is necessary, I'll find a way to make it happen. And he was always improving his company, even if it meant cutting down on some things to afford the things that would make the company improve.
Right.
All right? And that's the kind of thinking we need. How can we do this better? All right? And so we looked at that. Hope we can have some more conversation. I have to run right now, but it was good having you on. Andre, you want me to do this? Is I am sure sport. Man is man. Or you want to do?
No, you go ahead. You get it.
Well, this is I am sure sports. I am man is man. We have Andre Fortune there. Like Duclan said today, what does he know about the ghetto? His name is Fortune, right? And we also want to thank Jamal Shabazz for coming on, right? And being, very vocal, honest, and forthwith in his comments. Also to Kendall, who is normally in the comment section. We're going to try to get the St. Kitts and Nevis president, Atiba Harris, to come and share what is happening in St. Kitts and the Nevis as well. So I am Manningsman. This has been I Am Sure Sports. To all of you in the comment section, thank you so much. To all our viewers, our subscribers, thank you. If you have not yet hit the like button, go ahead and do so. But this is I Am Sure Sports. I am Manningsman. And when it comes to the end of the show, we normally say we are over and we are OUT out of here.
Yo, watch about dog, SK New Erdis, the body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Orchard-Race, Galtigo Bay, everywhere. I Am Sure Sports, check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like, yeah. Some are known for the food from we young, from we day, you need height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.